And what I'll do first is we have one on ordinance 1625 to amend the Irmo Town Code, chapter 14. That to do with
Is the mic on? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We'll do the number one first on the ordinance 1625 to amend the code that has to do with dilapidated buildings. And then after we do that one, then we'll do the other one on 1701. So is there anyone who would like to address council on the public hearing for ordinance 1625? All we ask is you come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Walter Lindler, 131 Bolters Lock Road, Irmo. It's time that we put some clause in these nuisances here in our town. Not only as a resident, but also as a member of your Irmo Planning Commission. We discussed last night the problems of people parking everywhere except where they're supposed to. And it's time for council to do something about it. Old Friars Gate, when I moved here in 1972, was a pleasant neighborhood. Today it's gone to the dogs. And in riding around the town, not only is it in Old Friars Gate, but it's in New Friars Gate as well. We have an ordinance that will fine people who live in rental properties for parking on the grass or illegal parking somewhere else. But yet, we don't have an ordinance that stipulates homeowners from doing the same thing. So as far as I'm concerned, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's hard to send code enforcement people out to see somebody parked on the lawn.
What's his name?
And take a half a day to find out whether or not they're rental property or whether they're homeowners.
Walter Lindler.
So I think the best way to eliminate that would to have an ordinance that stipulates, regardless whether you live in a rental property or whether you live in your own property, prohibit parking anywhere but on a driveway. Now, most driveways will accommodate up to 4 cars. Some driveways won't. If they've got more than 4 cars in the neighborhood or in the homeowner's property, then they need to do what I did. Invest in some concrete and make your driveways bigger. Sure, you got to shuffle cars around at times. And it's my understanding that some of these houses over in New Friars Gate are right up on the property line, and they can't go to the right of the driveway to add on. But they can go to the left of the driveway just as easy. So I challenge each and every one of you on council to bite the bullet and make everybody in town comply to the law. If you illegally parked in the grass, then you either need to have a make-do driveway with crush and run lawn timbers, or either extend with concrete. I would recommend extending it with concrete, because with crush and run and lawn timbers, eventually you're gonna have grass growing in there.
Excuse me, Mr. Lindler, this is not
Yeah, this is on dilapidated structures on ordinance 1625. That's what this public, excuse me, hearing is about.
Well, it's a nuisance.
But you need to be addressing this item here, dilapidated buildings.
Could you put the ordinance up, 1625, please?
This is the one that has to do with garage doors,
Right.
siding and broken windows and roofs and yada, 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 that we're having a public hearing on right now. The parking issue is something your council can look at, but this public hearing is just a comment on this particular ordinance here. So,
At the end of our meeting, we can accept those requests that you're doing right now under public input.
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you. And anyone else who would like to speak in regards to this ordinance here that we're having third reading on this evening, which is a dilapidated structure.
I am Bob Johnson at 305 Upland Great Irmo. I'm here to address the neighborhood. I've lived in this neighborhood. I'm a retired veteran, Vietnam veteran, 26 years, moved here to the town of Irmo. I could have moved to Columbia, Lexington, but I chose Irmo. And since arriving here, I've seen Irmo come down with their standards. We're here to enforce standards to keep the value of our neighborhood. You go down North Charles Road, 800 block, you look over to a house, the blinds are all torn, just hanging. That devalues my property. When I get out there and see shutters hanging off, writing on the houses, that defaces my property or brings the value down. I believe in upkeeping my property, and I've addressed the mayor several times in the past couple of years about the standards of the community. We have people to enforce the rules. We need to enforce, either you do what you should do to keep the value of this nice community together, or find another place to live. Because we're not here investing as properties, we're here to invest in our homes. And I stand by my home. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Pasalic. I live at 142 Trailers Gate Circle in Old Friars Gate. As I read over the proposed ordinance, let me just say that I'm certainly very much supportive of everything that I see there. Reason being, everything that I see there, I have seen. Let me just preface that statement with this. I came here to Irmo in '92 as a police officer with the town. I came from Sumter, retired at Shaw. Sumter has some significant problems, and they too, for whatever reasons, opted not to address some of those problems. It wasn't throughout Sumter, but it was more than it should have been. The neighborhood that I happen to live in, I was fortunate enough to be in a decent neighborhood, however you might want to define decent. But people were proud of their neighborhood. They were proud and concerned about the values of their homes going down due to situations that this points out. And they took care of those kinds of things. It didn't happen. Now, when I came up here, again in '92, I was just a patrol officer, so I was throughout New Friars Gate, Old Friars Gate, and the adjacent communities around here. Irmo, I had been told, was one of the nice neighborhoods. The people in Sumter were saying, that's great, you're gonna love it. And I do. But what I saw in New Friars Gate around the '93, '94 timeframe was a deterioration of homes, lawns. You saw cars up on jacks or blocks, if that would happen to be the case. I just saw a lot of stuff that most of us would never deal with. We would never allow those kinds of things to be in our neighborhood because of, again, of the pride that we have. Well, unfortunately, and I talked to the then mayor, that we, meaning law enforcement and codes enforcement, needed to, at that time, take a progressive attitude and position in knocking that stuff down. I don't mean that in a literal sense, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. We need to get a grip on those types of people that didn't care and it happened to some degree, but then as things went along, it seemed like more and more rentals were opening up in New Friarsgate. I have not one thing against anybody that rents a house. I've done it myself. But what I saw in New Friarsgate, and to a lesser degree by far in Old Friarsgate, was that where there were rental properties, the properties weren't maintained. The homeowner, the owner of that house, it's like he washed his hands. He expected those rental people to take care of it. And the rental people were basically saying, well, it's not mine. I'm not doing anything. And unfortunately, that became like a prevalent attitude in areas of New Friarsgate. I built a house outside of the town, and in 97 or so, they wanted to get their supervisors within the town limits. So therefore, I moved into my current address in Old Friarsgate. Old Friarsgate, I don't know if I can put this diplomatically, but I'm 70 years old, and the people in Old Friarsgate were older. And so we grew up in a whole different time frame, again, where you have pride in yourself, your home, your community, so forth. And the people there responded in that fashion. I have seen, like the gentleman that spoke previously had indicated, there are some of these situations that exist in Old Friarsgate. So having said all that, let me just say that I hope that you all act favorably and enact this ordinance. We need to have it done, because unfortunately, there are always those that could care less. And perhaps there are those that think, well, I don't want to do what the government tells me. Those kinds of people are very much in voice these days. So I would ask you to do the courageous thing, the smart thing, in my opinion, and pass this as quickly as you can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These ordinances are already in place under the rental properties, right? I thought that's what we
Well-
passed.
Different from this one.
Yeah, the rental is a little bit different, and it has some guidelines on how they got to keep up their property.
Right.
But it probably needs some strengthening as well. We need,
So while we pass this is for homeowners.
well, this
not
is for
rental.
any
For
home.
the town
This
of
would be
Irmo.
any-
Okay, so then this will include rental properties also then?
This would include any home that has any of that issues going.
Okay, as opposed to the one we had strictly just for rental
Yeah.
properties? Okay.
I'm Robert McCraw, and I live at 135 Walnut Lane in Hill Creek. I know that most of these laws that have been passed previously are for rental property to keep slumlords out and stuff like that, but we have developed a problem with people that own their homes that do not keep them up. Every day I walk out the front door and I have to look at a house across the street that's gone through 2 owners. The roof's damaged. The siding is pulled off the house where you can see the insulation. There's no railings on the steps.
In Hill
There's
Creek?
still pieces of siding and stuff on the roof from where the hurricane came through that they haven't cleaned up. The only reason the limbs are off the house is because the wind blew them down. I mean, we've been putting up with this for months and months. There's been plenty of time to have stuff like that fixed. The code people for Irmo do an admirable job on what rental property, that the ones I've talked to and have asked for help. But as far as homeowners, there's no teeth in the law. There's nothing they can do. And so you can talk to people and ask to do something, but they ignore you for whatever reason. So I really would like to see Irmo to pass something that would give us some help to keep these things from happening. It's got to be a big problem. You give people plenty of time to get things fixed, and for whatever their reasons are, and I won't get into that, they won't fix them. And it just gets worse and worse. And, you know, after months and months, in fact, in this case, years and years, you finally get to the point where, you know, you're just totally disgusted. And it would be nice if y'all would do something to help us out to fix these type of problems.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
I'm Keith Bacon, live in Irmo, in Walnut Court, also in Hill Creek, the gentleman spoke about. And I know the house very well, he's speaking about, I have pictures of it, and it's been that way for a long time. Going back when it was set up here, I don't know why the difference between a rental and living in a home would make any difference. Personally, I don't know why one would, it should be the same, because if the property's on our street, it doesn't matter who owns it, they're still responsible for it. And so I'd like to make that comment too first. I think this is well well needed in our community of Irmo. Hill Creek has been it's about 30 years old right now, so we've been around for a while, but we have 3 homes right now, in particular 3 homes. One went into foreclosure recently, and it's unfortunate what happened to the gentleman. This family's been working on the inside. They bought it in really serious condition. They haven't focused on the outside. The tree fell down. They're still waiting. It's been going on for a long time. They need to take care of it. So we need this. Our covenants, unfortunately, don't have any teeth to them. So we cannot enforce these things. We're not a regime community. So we need this kind of help. And that's, I would think all Irma would benefit from the same thing. So we appreciate this. There may be some other issues, too, that we could expand on here. But it's not to be a beating stick. And there are charity groups. I know several of them that could help, but it's just a matter of they still need to take the ownership of their home. And that's most important. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Keith.
Hey, Robin Barker at 130 Hexham Circle. Came just quickly to talk on this because I am actually in the middle of getting comps done on my home, so this does affect me currently. We had comps ran on our home just yesterday, got the comps today, and of course, they actually went down from last year. We're trying to put our house up for sale. We're working on moving. I will be honest with you, part of the reason we're trying to move is I can't get the dogs behind me to stop barking at 2 o'clock in the morning. The neighbor's house fence can't stay up because they're propping it and they don't put it up like they're supposed to. They don't take care of it. I have gone over, tried to talk to them, offered to help, it's not even that they can't do it, they don't want to accept that help. We've bought noisemakers and tried to, drown out the sounds as possible as much as we can. We got the comps last year. We weren't quite ready to buy our property yet. We hadn't found anything. And those were higher than the comps that we got today. And my real estate agent said, I hate to say it, when we were looking at properties today with him, and he said, I hate to say it, but, your neighborhood is going downhill. And the foreclosure that was in front of us last year and the short sale that happened right across the street from us really, hurt us. And then when they came and took a look at our home, the houses beside us were so dirty, and the rental home that's next to us with the fence problem is so, messed up. And then we have, just across the railroad tracks, which is in New Friarsgate, you do have that condemned-looking home that sits right there. I know that there's not a whole lot you guys can do about that because it is owned by, a bank or a property that you can't seem to reach to do anything about it. But I'd like to see the town of Irmo be able to do something to fix that because nobody personally owns it. Nobody's even living there. Nobody has any stake in that home, and it's just bringing the neighborhood down. And even though that's not in my neighborhood, it still affects my comps, from what I was told. So I just wanted to speak on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We do have the code enforcement handling the rental properties, right? So that should have been taken care of. That fence problem that she's having should have been taken care of through that.
Well, I don't think we have anything in our ordinance, which we will be addressing probably next meeting or the one after that, about fences.
About fences, that's right.
Because we have the
Nothing.
one house that we just tried to correct, and the people put up a fence, but they didn't install it. They leaned it up on their junk. And so
This is the problem that
we got to go back and rewrite that and say fences need to be properly installed and maintained, which is probably a debatable issue as what does that mean?
Yeah.
Excuse us, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just wanna make sure.
Wendy Ann Haynes, 412 Brickling. I am a renter, and I would like to see this passed to keep homeowners to the same standards. It's really not fair that I keep our house up, and again, we're renters, but then the people next door aren't held to the same standards. And just like she said, I tell people to come in the back way to New Friarsgate, just to avoid that house.
Yeah.
When you're coming into a neighborhood and your second house that you come in is completely burnt out and a mess. I don't send in people that way. I have them come the back way into the neighborhood because it's embarrassing.
What's she talking about?
But
The
the
one
reason
up-
the house that we rent is up for
Second
rent
house
is
on
because
the
he
left.
can't
Roll
sell
Tower.
it due to the conditions
North.
in Friarsgate. It's not worth
It's kind of,
what, he has
a tree
invested in
fell
the
on the
house.
back of it, it just kind of.
So, and a lot of the houses are like that. They just can't sell them. They rent them to, so they don't go into foreclosure. All the houses around us are rentals, just for that reason. They're near foreclosure. They can't sell them. The condition of the neighborhood has gone down. I mean, I grew up in Old Friars Gate, and it was back in the 90s, and it was a wonderful neighborhood. And driving through it now, I know when my father passed, they got maybe half of what the mortgage was on the house on Old Friars Gate, because the neighborhood's gone down. But yes, I think homeowners need to be held to the same standards as renters, because like I said, if I have to keep my house in condition, but the guy next door can have, different terms, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the person who owns my house sell his house if he wants to sell it. So yes, I think both renters and homeowners should be held to the same standards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Patricia Witt. I live at 213 Minehead Road, and I've been a resident of Irmo for 16 years, and I love it. When I bought my house, I didn't know that the whole house was the whole block was rentals. I think there's only 6 people on my block that own their home, and I've even had people across the street come over and ask me if they can have water because they couldn't pay their water bill. They were renters. So I'm very giving to others. But there's also a house that just went up in foreclosure about 3 down from me, and they had to go in and completely gut it. And the shingles are all laying out on the front yard. It's a very big eyesore, and I'm surprised that someone hasn't called about it by now. But I do take pride in my home, and it doesn't look like today like it was when I bought it 16 years ago, and I had wanted to make it my last home, but I'm really starting to think that, like a couple of people said, it just seems to be going downhill, and these people need to be responsible. I mean, I had some injuries this past year, but still I hire someone to do my yard work and never think, nothing gets overgrown or anything. And mine's a nice little postage stamp sitting on the corner, and same thing with the value. I can't get a good value out of it because of everything else around it. But it is really a big concern
It is.
in Friars Gate. Thank you, folks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Patricia.
Punch the clock.
I am Elmer Danco. I live at 500 Finsbury Road. Honorable Mayor and members of Irmo Town Council, I am here to inform you that I am in favor of the proposed amending of the dilapidated structure ordinance. Like the ordinances pertaining to unsightly, unsanitary property, it is alarming, it is frightening, and yes, disgusting that we must be concerned pertaining to unattractive, dilapidated structures in the residential neighborhoods here in the town of Irmo. I would add that besides the concern pertaining to dilapidated structures in the residential neighborhood, there are structures in the business community of the town that are of a dilapidated nature also. That is another issue that needs to be addressed by town council. Just as there should not be any property in a residential neighborhood deemed unsightly, unsanitary, or dilapidated, there also should not be any business structure within the town's boundaries in such disrepair to the extent to be unsightly and of a dilapidated nature. It is known as a real fact that housing or business structures that are not properly cared for over a period of time, they do become unsightly, unsanitary, and in disrepair to the extent that the structure becomes inhabitable and dilapidated.
Practically all unattractive structures, housing or business, are dilapidated due to the, and I quote, "I do not care" attitude on the part of the owners of some of these dilapidated structures, unquote. These are some of the same people that become upset and become very vocal and state, and again I quote, "Government infringes too much on people and their property," unquote. Yet, it is some of these same people that allow these structures to become neglected and dilapidated that government must become involved in order to protect the residential and the business neighborhoods of, in this case, our town of Irmo. A dilapidated structure is an invitation for the homeless to seek shelter in, especially from the cold, which I am sympathetic for them. A dilapidated structure is also an invitation for drug dealers, alcoholic problems, and even prostitution activities which cannot be tolerated in a residential or a business neighborhood. I ask council, is it fair that we residents of the town of Irmo should expect to have unsightly, unsanitary, or dilapidating housing structures in our residential neighborhood here in the town of Irmo? Honorable Mayor and members of council, like all town ordinances to be effective, which you agreed to uphold at the time you were sworn into public office, you must get the message to town code enforcement officers that all code issues must be enforced, as all town code and ordinances are in place to protect the residents, the visitors, and the business people of, in this case, the town of Irmo. Again, I am in favor of the amendment pertaining to dilapidated housing. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Elmer.
My name is Linda Bailey. I live at 112 Trailers Gate Circle. I've been a resident of Irmo for 42 years. When I moved here, Old Friars Gate was a premier neighborhood that you could be proud of. It was a place of status, good schools that you could raise your children in. But we not only think of our homes as a place of shelter and comfort, but for many of us, it's the largest investment we will make. For that investment to increase in value, it is necessary to maintain its appearance. Since we live in a suburban community, each of us has a responsibility to maintain a presence that reflects well on the whole. There is no strict division that separates one home from another. This is apparent because code does not allow obstructive fences in the front yard. When it comes time to sell our homes, we're competing with newer areas that showcase what is referred to as a model home. It is unlikely that we continue to live in a model home atmosphere, but for that benefit of all, I would like to see our community maintain a pleasant face. I take a great deal of pride in my home. I'm a 74-year-old widow. I maintain my home. I maintain my yard. We all should do whatever is necessary to enhance the value of our property, not lower it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, actually, just in adding it, I don't see it up there, but is there anything that stops, like halfway houses from being rented out and government people taking the government money and actually putting people in these homes? I know that we've seen that, and
No.
you know, we're starting to see
No.
more of that.
Well,
How do we stop that?
You can't.
well, if you go to the state law, 629, and read all that, there is an avenue in there when one of these homes come in that you can, I want to call it, apply to the contest to the circuit court and ask for some relief, but there's very thin grounds for them to do something.
They're buying these bigger houses like in Old Friars Gate. And I would say something like my home, it's 4 bedrooms. You know, they would take a 4-bedroom home. There should be laws to say that there's somebody that has to stay in that home with them.
Well, there is guidelines in that law that says as long as the government agency is doing this, as long as they're screening them, and as long as they're doing, and it lists all these things they have to do, then they can do it. If they're not, then you can challenge it or contest it. But it's still a,
For what it's worth, we tried to do it over in Coldstream, when I used to live in Coldstream. They had 2 within 2.5, 3 mile. We lost miserably after.
What about the safety of our children with that? And what kind of halfway houses they are?
yeah.
Depends. I
And
mean,
I-
if you're talking about drugs and those kind of, I mean, and I have sympathy for those people trying to rehabilitate and that, and I get that, and that's okay. But I also have to think about raising our children. I know that at this point, I'm done. I am pulling out. I'm putting my house on the market. I'm pulling out. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've been fighting this battle for quite some time, and I'm losing. I'm very much losing. I've been losing for years. And, you know, like many people in here, I was raised in New Friars Gate. I remember moving from Pine Valley over where Columbia High School was. And I remember going down the street telling all my friends, I'm moving to Irmo. I'm moving to Irmo. I'm going to Dutch Fork and I'm moving to Irmo. And now I'm like, I'm moving out of Irmo, you know, and I hate to say that, like, because I just, weighing the two and feeling the difference, and I see the difference, and it has nothing to do with my age. It has everything to do with what's happening in these neighborhoods. And I'm very nervous about that. Now, the one question I have for you is, isn't there a law that there's only, you know, a certain amount of people that aren't related to live in one home? Is that not something that can be enforced with the HUD home?
No,
It's a different
Not with that.
yeah, they got a different federal thing. The only defense against any of that is high home prices and high rent, because the numbers don't work, and in a place that they got to pay a lot for, or a place that they got to,
Which is how they're getting in, because the house market is going
Yeah.
down so much to where we're living that it's an easy place for them to get bigger homes for a cheaper amount of money.
And make it work.
This is a losing battle if it continues. Thank
the
you.
only good thing is some of those people are not the most honest in their desire to help. It's more in their desire to
Make money.
make money.
I
And
understand that.
if they're harassed enough and checked enough and followed enough, normally you can find something that they're not doing proper, and they can get kicked out and their license get pulled. But
Do y'all know which homes those are? Are you privy to that information?
I don't know that we have any.
So they don't have to
Well,
file anything.
I don't know that we have a list, but there is a
I
home,
think there's one on
St. Albans and East
Charing Cross.
St.
It
Albans.
used to be
and
on Royal Tower.
Well, we got them out. That
Yeah,
one was one we fought to get out of, but it took a lot to get that home out, and we had a lot of
Well,
problems.
they're-
I mean, we had them walking in our doors. I mean, the people.
Well, they're everywhere, because I moved from Shandon out here in 1986, and there was one 3 blocks from my house that I didn't know, because they kept it up, they took care of it, they weren't invasive or anything. And when the property values went up, the owner said, I can make more money selling this thing than doing this, and he refurbished the house and sold it for twice what he had in it.
And the one on the
They're
corner of
anywhere.
St. Albans and East something, I can't remember what it is.
There's one in Quail Valley too.
But you
But
wouldn't
it's
know
in
it.
Lexington County Park.
Well, not
They
knowing is one
keep
thing,
it up.
but when you get
They
the
just keep it up.
people like we had on Charing Cross who was walking in our doors and, you know, I mean, literally bothering each home. When you have that and you have the bad property and the people that don't care, and when they come in and they don't live, you know, when you have that, because you have a lot, when they're not sitting there with them and they're just letting them do whatever, then again, we're fighting that battle of trying to keep our property values up. And when you are showing our home, I mean, I'm about to have people coming and looking at my home, and one of my biggest concerns is, you know, they're gonna be driving up to my house, and the realtor is gonna be bringing them to my home to view my home, and they're gonna have to see fighting my neighbor just to get her to pick her fence up, because I told my husband, when they go in the backyard and they see this fence sitting like this, and a couple of the, you know, the pieces of wood are falling off, you know, are they gonna really want to buy that house? Because even though my backyard looks nice, the neighbor's backyard doesn't look nice, and the other neighbor doesn't, and even though I have a fence, you can still see theirs. So it's just, those kind of things that are difficult.
Robin, can you see that fence from the street?
No, just from my backyard. But
On the other side, could an officer see that?
if you walked up and looked and were looking for it, you could see it. The problem is when they have it leaning sideways, it's lower than the privacy fence that's blocking it from the street. So, but here's the thing, they have a little Chihuahua, and I have a very decent-sized Pomeranian. My fence keeps my Pomeranian in. However, my fence does not keep their little Chihuahua out. And it is not my job to keep their Chihuahua out of my yard, but it's my job to keep my Pomeranian out of theirs. You see what I'm saying? And I can keep my dog in my yard. I also bring my dog in at night, and I don't let my dog go outside and stay outside. We have a doggy door. He's allowed to go in and out, but we don't let him go outside and bark. But their dog can come into my yard and into my house.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm not home and I let my doggy door stay open, all of a sudden I've got a foster
Surprise.
and,
Oh, my God.
so, and I have to go over there and leave notes with the daughter, and I have to leave notes with everybody. And I'm having difficulties with keeping this little Chihuahua, tiny little Chihuahua out. I mean, this thing's ruthless. I mean, it will charge at you like it's a Doberman. And, I mean, I can't keep it out of my yard. And those are little tiny battles, but again, imagine a realtor bringing over somebody to my house to look at my house. All of a sudden they come in, there's this dog I don't even know about in my house. Or they walk in my backyard and this dog is charging that dog or that person. Again, I lose a possible buyer because of my neighbor's dog.
You do.
Again, those are just kind of my concerns. So, thank
Robin,
you.
please call code enforcement or chief and making a complaint on some of these things. I mean, I'm sure chief is sitting right there. He'll be happy to take any information you got. I mean, but.
Yeah, we know Robin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not because of the dog.
Oh, okay.
My dad is why they know me.
All right.
He was, and that's why we moved to Irmo. Is my dad was an Irmo police officer, and it was a great.
Small, lovely community.
Yes.
Everyone become a cop.
But I will say nothing against the police department. You guys do a great job. Thank you for what you do. But when I did have to call about the dog barking to houses behind us, I think it's he's on Royal Tower. He has all those private no trespassing signs up. And,
That used to be the house. It was the.
yeah. They have a dog that barks in the middle of the night. I mean, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I would get up, call the police department, and they would go, oh, well, now we're not hearing it. So it was such a losing battle that when they don't hear it, they can't do anything about it, but yet it wakes me up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't ever get back to sleep. Now I have a really long day at work, and I can't do anything about it, and that person never has to pay for it because they don't care about their animal enough to bring it inside. It's yelping all night long because it's cold outside or hot outside or doesn't have water or food or whatever it is, but yet if the police officers don't hear it, there's nothing that can be done about it.
Well, other than they can file.
Well, technology these days, this is better. This is the best camcorder they ever made.
You can't see anything at 2 o'clock in the morning,
But
though.
if you go out there and get video for us, all it needs is evidence.
But here's the thing. So last year, my husband, was happening over and over again. My husband went over there, knocked on the guy's door. It wasn't even 2 o'clock in the morning. It was probably like 11 o'clock at night or somewhere around there. But we were ready to go to bed. The kids were already in bed, and the dog was still barking, and it's been a continuous problem. He goes over there and knocks on it. The guy threatens him, tells him that he will shoot him if he does not get off his property. So, I'm not going over there with my camcorder on that guy's property, guarantee it, because I might not walk out of there. You see what I'm saying?
Well, the best thing is call us. We'll see if we can locate the problem.
Yeah.
And deal with it accordingly.
I mean, the last time we tried to approach it very civilly, they threatened to kill my husband, so,
Good Lord.
I mean, we won't be knocking on that door again. But little do they know that when their car was broken into and stolen, and then our cars were broken into, and this was last year, their keys were dumped in our front yard, and I nicely called the gym that they worked for to locate the owner of the keys. And then those keys were theirs, and we returned them. They had no idea who we were, and we didn't say anything to them, but they did come over and retrieve their keys and did contact the police department for it. They seemed very nice at the time, but when you approach them about anything regarding their home, they're very, absolutely.
Okay.
So, those are just, again, some things where I just don't even feel like I can approach my neighbors anymore. It's not just one neighbor, it's multiple neighbors when all I want to do is try to help, and I want all of us to be able to live comfortably in what we used to know is a very nice area and neighborhood. We weren't quite ready to move yet because we wanted to move from our home to our forever home. But we're, we kind of pulling the trigger earlier than we thought just because we need to. Because we're afraid. We're afraid to lose value. We're afraid that things are going downhill, and we have no control over that because all we can do is control our property. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move to the next public hearing on 1701. This is the one to do with allowing food trucks into town with certain conditions and all like that. Anyone who would like to address council on that? Just come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record.
Okay, good evening. My name is Michelle Whipper, and I live at 803 Creekleaf Court. My son actually owns a food truck business. It's called Scott Benny's. And when we first moved to Irmo, of course, we love it here. We did not realize the food trucks were not here because every time someone would see us and they'd ask us where we're from, where we're stationed, and we let them know that we are residents of Irmo. And when are you going to come to Irmo? Does Irmo have a food truck? So, of course, I went to City Hall to ask, I think it was Vi, do they have food trucks here? And she said no, because several businesses had asked us. And we did find out that I guess if a business requests us and it's their property, that's one thing. We were asked to go to be a part of the Orchestra. However, we were doing Screen Makers in Bishopville for like the whole month of October, and I really wanted to do Orchestra because it was seemed so interesting. But I am definitely for the food truck businesses. I'm not sure how many are in Irmo, but I know that Scott Benny's is, and several times we've been asked to go to the park to come, and a few times I think we did something in Irmo Park, but it was a private request. So, and it was really nice. People enjoy us, and our truck gets a A rating, and of course, you DCAT has to certify you and make sure that everything is very good. And we do American and international cuisine. We do deliveries. And it's something, and not only that, my son was the catalyst. I'm sure everyone knows of Too Fat to Fly with Ramon. Well, Ramon and my son Quinton Scott Whipper, we call him Scott. Ramon actually was one of the ones who induced Quinton to become a food truck owner. And he did have the hot dog truck, the hot dog carts. And when we bought the food truck, everyone was so happy. So you do I don't know if you realize that there are many. Have you ever been to any of the food festivals? Of course, down the Columbia Raceway. And we do so many different festivals that people really like the fact that in our times of working hard, coming home, and wanting to get the food, something for the children, you have food trucks that are very good. Again, like the Barbecue Boys and Too Fat to Fly with Ramon. Then you have Jose's. And my son was willing to, or is willing to, be of assistance because he knows everyone. And of course, that's like a little club, just like anything else. You know everyone. And the one thing I do love is that no one is in the idea of trying to outdo anyone else, because we all have different tastes. And just like there's Burger King and McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, you want what you want. So we are in the business of sharing, and we also do, when we're invited places, like I have a girlfriend who does the ices, we let them know. Would you need an icy truck there or person? Would you need a barbecue? Because we don't do all barbecue. And we invite other people who have different cuisines. And Irmo is one of, if not, I do feel that one of the best communities I have seen. You have Columbiana Mall here, and you have so many different other amenities to Irmo. And I think that that would be a great addition. I think many people would be proud of you if you allow that, so that people can choose for their child's birthday to have a truck come into the yard and service them right there on their property, or have a business established and say, listen, we're going to have Employee Appreciation Day today. But let's bring that in. We actually wanted to come to City Hall and set up and do, because you guys have a strip here. You have the council, you have the police department, and you have many different establishments here. And I had asked Vi, well, can I bring my truck one day and feed everybody? And this was just something I wanted to do. And she said, well, Michelle, the soft voice, we don't have that here, but you can go around asking people who own the businesses. I said, Vi, we need to change that. So I'm so glad that you have taken the time to even consider something like this, because again, there are a lot of small people. And I met somebody one day that was next to me. We went to the Irmo Park, and I think, now just moving here, it's along Lake Murray Boulevard. It's back, the little park in the back, I don't know what it's called. So this beautiful lady sits up next to me, and she's just as sweet and quiet. And then this man comes over, and we're helping put up the tent, because I think I was helping him because his wife wasn't there. So I'm helping him put up the tent, and all of a sudden this lady picks up and starts putting out the most tasty lemonade. And who do you think that was? Somebody we all know. Our wonderful mayor. It was wonderful. And
Talking about that,
I don't know if you remember, but it's me.
at the
women's-
and
women's
I thought someone walked up and said, "Oh, they called him the mayor." So some people think they're big shots. So I actually thought that was the name they had given him, because that was because I thought that they were, that was their friend. They were like, "Hey, mayor," how you doing?" And you know what? He was so casual and so unassuming that you would never know that he was the mayor, because we were talking and I was helping him put up the tent. He said, "Oh, my wife's coming." And I said to somebody, well, why did they call him mayor? Because, and they said, because he's the mayor. I said, no, I'm talking about the guy that's over there with the lemonade. He said, that's the mayor. So I went over and introduced myself as Mimi from Scott Benny's, and it's good to see you. And we had a great time. And I bought lemonade, and everybody bought hot dogs, and we sang, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And children need to see that they're a business. And I don't like to face people. I'm a retired school principal, so I don't like to have my back to everybody. I don't want to turn around and keep swiveling around. But I think it's good when children can see, because you have people that may be in a crunch, and they may have a food truck that their grandfather had, or their dad, or so they may know how to make one small little truck. And what a great idea would it be for Irmo to learn how to teach children how to do business. My son does a class at some of the schools in here in Irmo, and he does them in Columbia, on entrepreneurship. So he teaches children. He goes in, he makes food, and whatever's on the menu, something easy. Am I taking too much time? Because, as a principal, I can talk. Anyway, I'm going to be fast. But he does that. And there are many other people who in food service business can also do that. And you're encouraging young children to see that if their father knows how to make a small little cart, because they already do lemonade on the side, or sweet tea. Because I'm from New York, when I came down asking for tea, I was waiting for hot tea, and they brought me sweet tea every time. So it's something you get used to. But it's good to teach children that, you can do this. And the trucks are so pretty and big, and we have a big red truck with horses on it. And it's good to let a child know that a father who does carpentry can build a little cart, and they can take it to the baseball field and get a license, get a permit, and take their little cart out. It's not a food truck, but it's just something, it's a start to teach children that they can do big things, like big food trucks. So again, my name is Michelle Whipper, and any assistance that we can be as a catalyst to help you to get food festival days, food truck Fridays. As I said, Quinton, and some of you may know other people who have food trucks, but that's something that you can establish. And if not, if it's not being done, why not be the first? Again, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and I will call the regular meeting to order, and I will recognize Councilman Mark Pouliot to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to serve this community this day. We ask you for your wisdom, guidance, clarity of thought, focus, and the strength to do your will. We ask this also for our county, state, and federal leadership so they may unite this country. May our actions be just and honorable in your sight and help us to reflect your heart in service to our town, state, and country. In the precious name of Jesus and for the sake of his reputation, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And let's see, next item is the reading of the minutes from January 17th. Is there a motion for the minutes to be approved as written?
I make a motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of the minutes to be approved as written, do so with show of hands. And next is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you need to add?
A couple things, Mr. Mayor. I was going to take the planning commission, was requesting from council, but Mr. Lindler's already done that. They also recommended approval for the PDD on ordinance 1705, which is coming up on the agenda. You've all got a copy of the comprehensive plan in front of you. The planning commission's been working the last 7 months on that. So go ahead and review it at your leisure. I suspect we'll put it on the agenda sometime in March.
And they did approve it last night?
For
The comprehensive land plan? They did? Okay.
recommended it to council. This is still a draft.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Brown on anything on the briefing? Seeing none. Next is the amendments to the agenda. And I did want to make one amendment to the agenda. And item 10C, which is the approval of the town's special events policy, is to move it after 9A and before 9B, so we can work that out, make sure they get that done. And then once we approve the policy, then we could do second reading on the ordinance.
Where are we going to move it now?
We're going to move it, we're going to move 10C to right under 9A before. So that we will discuss that, get that worked out, and then approve that, and then do second reading on 1701.
Okay.
Okay.
So you want to amend the agenda and not suspend the rules?
Yeah, just amend it and move that. And
Okay.
So, let me see, did I make a motion? Yeah, I did. I made a motion, so I need a second.
Second.
Let me write a note here. Any discussion on that, or?
No.
All in favor then of amending the agenda to move 10C to right before 9B, do so with show of hands. And any other amendments to the agenda? And then next is considerations of communication. Any consideration of communication?
Just one little thing. I got a letter from Lighthouse
Oh, yeah.
about the training and stuff. Are we doing that?
Well, I really don't have the personnel to send anybody right now.
Okay.
To do any. type of
Oh, yeah, I know
training
what you're talking about,
on.
yeah.
I think something's also sent to the mayor on that. I did put something on Facebook about, going to the hashtag, and that type of thing, but, we don't, right now, I just don't have anybody sent.
Okay. I just got it, and it was curiosity more than anything else.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Maybe
Thank
next
you.
year.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely next year.
Any other communication?
Did you complete your police report? Did you get? Or that comes next meeting? Or?
March. I'm actually done with it. I mean, I just got to get my captain to look over it. Y'all will definitely have it by next time you meet.
Okay.
That's fine.
About the year-end report?
No, well, the crimes and.
The monthly, oh, the
Yeah.
monthly.
Well, this is the year-end report for 2000.
Oh, it's a year-end? Okay. So you give it to us next time.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it to you by then.
That's fine.
Captain Dennis is looking at it, make sure I spelled everything right.
Okay, thank you.
And any other communications? Next is presentation by citizens. This is where any citizen who wants to address council on anything that's on the agenda may do so at this time. All we ask you come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record.
Okay.
Seeing none. Next item then is third and final reading of ordinance 1625. This is one we just had the public hearing on. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I heard all the comments we had at our public hearing, and I understand a lot of things that the people are saying about the condition of the homes and, the way the values are going down because people are not taking care of their homes. But my only concern and I want to make sure that we understand that Irmo is an aging community and it's getting older, it's not getting younger. And the way we attract people to the community is we show them that we have compassion that would allow them to live in their homes, even if they are older and can't afford to do the things and keep them up. We have a way to help them, and not just to send a police officer with a gun and a badge out to them and say, you have a shutter or, you have a roof that has a tarp over it and it hasn't been like that for a while, that we don't have any compassion to say, well, you have to fix it and you got 10 days to do it and that's it. Here's a $1,000 ticket if you don't do it. We need to make sure that we do it with compassion and we actually reach out and help folks. And that's why we put in their ordinance, I believe we put it in there to make available to these folks, agencies and organizations that will help people fix their properties. But Irmo is, I live in a planned community and we have things that I agreed to when I bought my home where I live at, that we have to maintain our property in a certain way. You can't even cut down trees in my neighborhood without the approval of the
Harbison, the thing.
Right. It's not like that in Friars Gate. If we want to turn Friars Gate into that kind of a community, then this is not an attempt to do that, but this is where we're headed with this. And I think we just have to have compassion when we enforce these things.
And, again, we have some, I don't say churches and stuff, and I haven't heard back from some of them, but I do have the word out to some of them in their Boy Scout groups and all like that to try to see what they'll do and talk about this.
We have a letter ready to go out.
Yeah, we just got to send it and then find some of those places. I did also go to a, what did they call it? Columbia Housing Roundtable that they had over here at Midlands Tech probably 2 weeks ago or 3. And it had to do with tax credits and all this other stuff and blah, 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 and everything else. But one of the people who spoke was from the South Carolina Housing Trust, something or another. Anyway, I went up and talked to him afterwards. They have 3 programs. in their, whatever you call it, in their bag of tools to work with, that have to do with grants for home repair. Most of it emergency, most of it public safety, which would be an HVA system not working and somebody could freeze, or a hole in the floor and they could fall through, or a hole in the roof and rain and everything else. So I'm trying to get a meeting set up with Bob and me and them to kind of find out more what the rules are. Can we, part of the problem is there may be some homes in Irmo that would apply and get that. It's just they only got so much dollars, and there's a lot of requests for that money throughout the state. But it's a first come, first serve, and when they run out of money, they quit doing anything until next year's funding. But it is something that we're going to try to see if we can find out what it is, and at least have it available that if we run into one of those situations where people meet that criteria, then we can give them that agency's name and number and say, contact these people and start the process. And there were, and I can't remember all of them, but there was one for that, and there was one for repair, there was one for certain people of certain ages, and whatever. I just got to get them to come. Sometimes that's hard.
Well, as long as we make that attempt, I'm cool with this ordinance. I'm happy that we're trying to do something. But I just don't want you to send a police officer with a gun and a badge to my grandmother's house who's got a hole in her roof and say, you got 10 days to fix it, and if you don't, it's a $1,000 fine.
And like right now, they got a 10-day, but if they can prove to the town within that 10 days that, hey, we're talking to the insurance company and we're doing this and we're doing that, whatever, then I think they can also get a lot of that stuff extended while they get that stuff done. Some of that stuff, like the siding and the broken windows and the gutters, somebody can go out there, Boy Scouts, and hammer it. Some of it, the roof, they can't do that.
As long as we show compassion, I'm all for it.
Well, next time I have an issue at my house, Mr. Walker, I'm going to call on you being the old guy up here. I'll be 72 next week, and I painted my house this last fall, didn't I? Didn't I? Well, she's talking. She came over and interrupted my painting a couple of days to talk about it. But something else we have not talked about or haven't even brought up that I found out when I had a lawsuit with one of my neighbors involved covenants. And every one of you, when you bought your home in the town of Irmo, your subdivision had a covenant. And you signed it when you bought your house, that you would uphold the covenant of the neighborhood. I was told by people that those covenants expire. They don't. You have to vote them out. Covenants are renewed the first time in 10 years, they're renewed the second time in 10 years, and then every 5 years thereafter until 70% of the property owners vote to have them removed. So you're still protected by the covenants you signed when you bought your property. Might not be enforced, but they're still in effect.
Yeah, I think.
And since I've lived here since 1986, I've never seen it on the ballot. And I voted every time we've had an election in this town. That's one reason I ran for office, was neighborhoods that are falling apart. And looking over the fence, I can tell you, some neighbors don't take care of their property in the backyards either. Like green swimming pools, and I'll say no more about that.
Is that in the covenants?
Oh, yes.
Green swimming pools covered in there?
Caring for your pool, maintaining your pool, and covering your pool.
I also want to add how much I appreciate people coming out
Yes.
and voicing their opinion. I can tell you that undertaking this is not easy. You have folks on both sides, folks that will demand that property is a right, and they should have the right to do anything they want on their property. But I can tell you from living in a mill town most of my life that if you do not follow and enforce ordinances, they go down. And I can tell you that I lost $10,000 on my home in Rhode Island, and I was happy to lose just $10,000. We have some real issues here, and I also ran on trying to clean up this town. One of the things that really drove my wife and me here was a 2007 report in Money Magazine naming Irmo as one of the 10 nicest places to live in America. We love this town. This is where I want to take my last breath. And we hear you. Those of you that spoke and those of you who are just in attendance, we hear you. I, for one, am going to make sure that I follow the ordinances. I demand that our code enforcement enforce those ordinances, and we're going to straighten out this town. Now, I can tell you that on social media, we will get bombarded by people. It is so great to see you coming out here and supporting us. Thank you.
To you folks.
Any other?
When you were talking about both sides, you're right. I commiserated with both sides because I understood one and I understood the
Yes.
other. And both have strong points that you can't help but say, well, that's right. But in the end, it's value, and it's a livable town, even if we are aging, and it was written with compassion. That's why Bob, or the administrator, has the allowances that he does, that he can extend these time periods for as long as possible. Another thing that keeps coming up is that we're going to take somebody to jail or whatever. I asked the former chief and this chief who we had jailed on code enforcement.
Nobody.
And we jailed one person. We happened to pick him up on code enforcement. We jailed him on something else. And so I was comfortable with that. That's not the intent.
That's right. That's right.
And I asked the questions to find out. And I think we have compassion at heart and value in mind. So I think
99% of our abatement notice, 99.9% of our abatement notices are answered immediately. The community itself does want to do the right thing.
Right.
I think so, and that's good to know.
Right.
Well, based on what you said, then you can get my support on this thing, because as long as we don't just send a police officer with a gun and a badge to somebody's house and say, you got 10 days to fix your roof or whatever with no compassion. I want to see compassion from the town of Irmo, because that's what we are. We have the ability to have that.
We've always been like that, though, Barry. We've always been like that.
Have you met the
Always had
officers in
compassion.
code enforcement?
Hmm?
Yeah, I have too.
And
I
Irmo
have-
can
I have
not to
great
co-
faith
not-
in 'em.
Excuse me.
No.
No, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Well, I met all the officers on purpose.
Yeah.
I wanted to see who was going to, and I think we picked awfully good ones for this.
Yes.
Well, when the young lady spoke about property values, I grew up in the Shandon area. My parents moved to Spring Valley when I was 8 years old. I inherited the house, and Shandon was coming up. And when I did sell the house after I had lived here for 3 years and had rented the house and saw what people will do to a rental house if you don't stay on top of them, I had a realtor list my house who sold my parents' house in the Spring Valley area. And she said, well, we can't get that much for this house. I said, why do you say it? Well, we've done comparisons. I said, comparisons with what? You said you've never sold this area. Well, out in the Spring Valley area. I said, take my word for it. Put a sign in the front yard. It'll sell for that. She called me the next morning and apologized profusely that she had 7 contracts on my house the next day. Now, Irmo used to be that way. It can be that way again because people moved here for a reason, not just the schools. That was a good drawing card. But we were a clean, law-abiding, area that the police department was part of the community in many cases. Our first police chief had a Volkswagen Rabbit, and I happened to have gone to school with him and used to kid him about the rabbit. But Irmo can come back, and we will. And all of you being here tonight, as Mark said, I am very, very pleased to see it, because when we used to meet behind us in what's now Transport Police, I can remember standing outside in what's going on outside with an umbrella to hear what was going on inside, because there was no place to sit. And people just stopped coming. We built this nice facility, and Mr. Danko has missed maybe 1 or 2 meetings since we built this building, and he's not here. I get worried something's wrong with him. And but I'm glad to see all of you here tonight, and thank you very much.
We got 7 officers living in town. We had 10. We wouldn't live here if there weren't a safe area, I promise you. I live here. So I am an Irmite. I don't know if y'all know that. I've been here all my life. So.
Hermes.
Hermes.
Ermite.
Remember Arms Akimbo?
Hermes.
So I have a vested in town as well. They're not going to.
Well, my son was like from New York and moved down here, so he's an officer in New York. I'd like to get him down here.
All right.
And one thing I wanted to add too, there's always, as Mark said, the thing about rights. And, we have responsibilities as well. Every right has
There
a
you go.
responsibility, and that's one of the things people sometimes forget when they talk about their rights, is they also have a responsibility to be a good neighbor and, try to get along with other neighbors. And, it's kind of like playing music. You may have a right to play music, but you don't have a right to play music real loud in the middle of the night. Now, you may be having a graduation party for your son, and people may be forgiving and say, fine, there's a party and they got a good reason to celebrate. But if it happened every night, sooner or later, you have a barking dog. Some people might say, okay, I can deal with that for a while, but if it happens all the time, you have a responsibility to control that.
Yes.
And one of the things, we've always been too, and we're slowly growing, but we still are considered a bedroom community. And if you're going to be a bedroom community, then your bedrooms better be in good order. And you need to have.
You want to
bedrooms.
rephrase that?
Your bedrooms.
Rephrase it, the house. The
Well,
interior.
that's your bedrooms. That's the house. When we
Okay.
talk about being a bedroom community, you're talking about being a neighborhood of homes. And you can't be a neighborhood home, be a bedroom community if all your houses, So when people get off the main streets, whether it's St. Andrews or Lake Murray, the interstate, and ride into the neighborhoods, they need to look swept and clean. They do. It'll be a better place. People will flock to move here, not be fighting and crying while they got to move out. So, yeah, I think we need to.
And we've seen that too.
Yeah, we have. In fact, I had a lady on the phone the other day. I don't know if she's here. I spoke to the chief about her and Bob. She's got some neighbors that are maybe not 100% all there type thing. What she refers to as a drug house across the street, and some people walking around with guns because they're upset with somebody. Now, whether they're real guns or plastic guns, she wasn't real sure. But she's kind of like, I don't know if I want to live here anymore. She's lived here 30-some years. It's time for us to address some of that stuff and start kind of fighting back and pushing back. But, yeah, I think we need to and there's probably going to be some more stuff to come along. I think Mark got the, whatever it was from Clemson and
Yeah, we attended, Hardy and I attended a meeting with all the municipalities of the state, and they had a couple speakers there that were tremendous. Greenville, if you've been to Greenville, it's a wonderful place. And Clemson, of course, has the college there, so they have some difficulties that they've addressed. And one of the things that many folks spoke about here that Clemson did address is there's one ordinance for property, period. Whether you own or rent, there's
Greenville.
one.
That was Greenville. Clemson had the rental home.
Correct.
Yeah, and Greenville had the one for everybody, but Clemson had the two.
No, Clemson had one.
No, they had the rental home because they had a separate rental home thing.
One of these towns.
Call for the question.
Greenville had but yeah.
Who's on first?
Yeah.
But we hear that also, because it makes it difficult for the police to know which ordinances they're following.
You're right, you're right.
So, all in favor then of third and final reading of ordinance 1625?
This is included in, okay, the rental property ordinance
It's still separate.
still separate, but
At this time.
this is covered under the rental also.
Well, this covers every home,
covers
whether it's
everybody.
a homeowner or a rental home. This covers every home.
So when the police goes up to a house, he doesn't have to decipher whether or not it's
Right.
rental.
He just looks at the garage door, the siding, or gutters and windows and pulls over.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So all in favor then of third and final reading, do so with show of hands. And all opposed? I guess no. All right. Next is that one, whatever it was, 10C, the policy, and I think Bob's got it in your thing called special events policy.
Yeah, if you can pull that up, please, the special events policy up on the screen, let everybody see it.
It'd be new business number C, under the thing. And is there a motion for approval?
So move.
So let me just make a note here, 10C. All right. I'm guessing everybody's read that and kind of goes over everything.
Need a second. Second.
I
Well-
second.
You did?
Yeah, no, I am now.
Now we can discuss
Okay.
it.
And if I understand it the best I can, is somebody comes, they want to do an event, could be something at the town park, community park, they could be doing something at a business, like the lady said, for a special appreciation for employees. Somebody like Lexington Medical could be putting on something at their place, or Kroger could put something on in their parking lot if they want to have a 100th anniversary or who knows what. And then they would come get the special events permit, and then they would explain everything, show everything, put it on the map, put it on the drawing. Bob would get it, Bob would approve it, or not, or amend it, or tell them to change this, whatever. And then that would be that. And I think, is it 2 vendors right now? 2 food trucks or trailers, they can be a truck or a trailer, either one, could come set up. And they could have tents too, or whatever. And then you approve the thing, they get a permit or a business license, or both.
It would be a permit, $35 permit.
So the vendor, food truck vendor gets the permit, but they don't need a business license. They just need a permit. Okay. Okay. And then they would operate no more than 2 days, and then that would be that. The only thing I told Bob that we probably needed to address a little bit more than what's on here, not so much, but if they're going to rent a picnic shelter at the park, or they're going to rent the amphitheater, and they're going to do it on a nice weather day, and whoever's doing it wants to have a food truck or trailer, then we need to designate something on the parking, that the food truck can't take no more than 1 or 2 parking, or the trailer can't take more than.
I would agree.
So that somebody doesn't pull in there and park it and then go and take up. Or, and at the same time, once they're approved and reserved, then Bob or whoever can go cone them off. So that nobody that pulls into the playground gets out and parks there, and kids, and they take off and playing. And then the family reunion is started, and there's nowhere for the guy to park his whatever. That was the only thing I felt like needed to be addressed too.
Will we do that in here, though? Will we do that in
Well,
special
we would
events?
just put it in here and say, that, so when Bob does his thing, he doesn't get into an argument with somebody about, well, I want 3, I want 2, I want 5, I want 10.
So what'd you say? What was your wording for that?
I don't know. I mean,
Oh.
1 or 2. I mean, I don't know. A trailer would take up 1, and a truck that pulls a trailer would take up 1.
I know, so what we would
Oh.
say,
A food truck might take 2. So you might say no more than 2 per
vehicle?
Per vendor, whatever, I guess, maybe. Would you say vendor?
I mean, it is a vendor, but we didn't really discuss any of how much space they're going to take up, only allowing either 2 trailers or 2 food trucks.
Well, and I just felt like that needed to be so that they know where they're gonna park, or the person that's getting the events thing knows where they're gonna park. And they're saying, we want them here. Or if it's somebody doing a family reunion at the picnic shelter, they know we want them as close as possible. They don't pull up and everybody's parked there and they gotta park 20 parks away. We got something reserved for them and we said, you can have these two.
So when they come in for the special events permit, after they pay the $35, we then say, okay, how many trucks do you want? They'll say, I'd like to have 2 trucks for this event.
Well, that's what council needs to decide. Right now, we have 2 trucks in the policy that was
Yeah.
drafted.
Right.
We wanna allow more.
And this is the one from Lexington, I think? Yeah, so that's kind of where it started.
Well, I mean, you might have a situation where there is somebody who wants more than 2 trucks for this event. Like, for instance, this cherry blossom thing we got going on. I don't know how many trucks they say they wanted, but they may want more than 2. Is that right?
Well, then, wouldn't we want them to come to council then and ask for
An exception,
an exception?
because this says 2 food trucks and our trailers.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want them to come and we'd have to sit down all the time and.
Yeah.
It probably needs to be on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I think we'd be better saying no more than 2, or no more than 4, or whatever.
All right.
And I don't know, this is kind of play it by ear. We start it off and then we change it as we need to. But I could see, I would say Lexington Medical having something at their hospital down there and saying, we want to have
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do a big
Yeah.
shindig, whatever it may be. I don't know. I could see somebody over here not wanting that much. Somebody at the town park not wanting very much because ain't a lot of room. Yeah, it's just, who knows? I don't know. Now, I don't
Right
know if
now-
they chose 2 in Lexington because that works out for them at their new park, or they just started with that and they never changed it.
Right now, isn't it true that to allow a food truck, someone would have to approach council, and we would have to vote on that?
No. Well,
At this time.
now, yeah, but that's what we're
Well,
trying
yeah,
to put
because
this
we
on.
don't allow it, and, yeah, I mean,
So what this would do is it would take it from council and put it onto our administrator.
yeah. But they would submit a plan. It wouldn't be just like he'd be going, they would have to submit something, it'd have to meet this criteria, whatever all that is. And if it meets all that, he can approve it. If it doesn't meet that, he can't. You know, whatever's not there, he can't. He would be able to say, yeah. And the one thing you mentioned, I might be wrong in that too, but the food trucks pay $35. Does the event person, they pay,
Depending on where the event is, I mean, if it's over at the Kroger parking lot or Lexington Medical,
they wouldn't pay
it
anything.
wouldn't pay anything.
But if they're gonna do the gazebo, then they pay whatever it costs to rent that, or a picnic shelter, whatever that, or amphitheater. Okay. But they don't really pay just to do it, they just pay if they're renting something.
Correct.
Okay. And then the food vendors pay the $35 fee.
Is this just first reading?
Well, the ordinance,
So this is,
this would be final. This is a one-time
Okay.
shot, unless you want to defer it or something, but this is, it's a policy, so once we do it,
I
it's done.
understand.
We don't have to have multiple readings.
So you want to add in the parking thing?
I would just
That's
add
fine.
something on that, and then if we want to change the 2 to 4 or 2 to 3, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know yet. We have to get input from the community.
we could do it, and then if it doesn't work out, we could change it.
Well, I'd like to get
Policy.
input from Scott Benny's, I guess. They can tell us how many food trucks or how many parking spaces they need. But at least let's approve this events policy, and then we can go forward.
Now, will they have to plug in anything?
It depends. Most of them are self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient, I
Yeah,
thought
most
so,
of them
but I
are.
mean, if they
Yeah.
had to plug in, we need to move them back where they were for the orchestra.
Well, you could either park them in a spot, or you could put them in some grass somewhere. I don't know that you'd want to put them in the path, because people may be
Yeah.
walking and all that kind of stuff. But if they're there for the amphitheater, they don't want to be way over yonder. If they're there for the picnic shelter, they don't want to be way over there.
Amphitheater.
They want to be as close as possible.
So it'll be on a case.
But the main thing would be, if they're going to start at 8, we got to get over there and block off 2 or 4 spots, wherever they designate, so that nobody else pulls in and gets over there and all that mess.
So we want to add to this, and I'd like to amend this to say we need to have the parking allowances.
Well, if you approve the policy, we can make changes anytime. It doesn't have to come back to council. You can just tell me you want to make a change.
Okay.
Well, I would say, yeah, two, at least two per vehicle.
Two per
Two
vehicle.
per
Per
truck,
vendor.
two per trailer, two per, however you, yeah.
Okay.
Two per vendor. And that way too, if we tie up a lot of our parking and then the people at the playground, then somebody's gonna be hollering for more parking. And I'm gonna be voting heck no. And we're limited kind of in a way already.
I think this lady wants to say something.
Hi, Mayor King and council. I just wanted to just give a little information in terms of the food vendors and the trucks. Most trucks take up 3 spaces
Okay.
because of the length of the truck.
Lengthwise or
Like the barbecue,
widthwise?
the lengthwise. Right, lengthwise, they normally take 3 spaces. And what we normally do is kind of pull in, and everybody normally does either like a horseshoe shape, but definitely not, Mayor, do not, please, if you don't mind, don't do the grass. Because if we park on certain grass and it's mushy and muddy and it's raining, you'll have a problem with
Yeah,
trucks
that's
getting
one of the
struck.
things we'd already,
Stuck, I don't mean struck, I mean stuck, and that's gonna be an issue. You're gonna have to pull out people to drag them out, and that can be quite taxing if you put them on the grass. However, when we did the concert downtown, of course, it was dry, and it was out in the field, and it turned out to be very well. When we go out to the Columbiana Raceway, I want to say that's grass as well, but again, it was no inclement weather, everything was pretty good. So most trucks, again, are normally about 3 feet long, and for your tent, most do a 10 by 10, so you need a 10 by 10 space. We had a tent as opposed to a truck, and we do have some trucks that are smaller than others, but I would probably gauge it at the largest truck, because at the largest truck, anything below that would probably use 2 spaces, like you said before. So you're on the right track.
okay.
Okay? And again, if Scott Benny's can be of any assistance, because we have been in the business for a long time, and we do have a lot of, we have a good camaraderie with many of the other food vendors, and we can really help, especially Scott, in terms of getting a committee together that would help coordinate with the city certain events that you like to have and who you like to have there, and we can be of assistance, because
Thank you.
we've been in the trenches.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're doing a great job.
Okay, it's
So you think 2 or 3?
3 spaces.
3 spaces, yeah. Sounds like it.
So you got that, Bob?
3 spaces, did we change the 2 trucks to 3 trucks or 4 trucks?
No. Gosh. Why don't you
Leave it up to you. I mean,
No more than
again, I don't know, for this Cherry Blossom event, that they're gonna have 2 trucks or 10, I don't know.
Yeah, but think about where that's going to be, Councilman.
Well, I agree,
It's
but
going to be at the community, that's going
Right
to be
here
at this
in Town
park right
Park.
here, in Town Park, so you have 3, you're not going to have any place for anybody else to park.
Well, that's, again, the guy is not here that's doing that event. I don't know how many trucks he's expecting.
Yeah.
I don't think he has but 1 or 2 coming. Yeah.
1? Okay, that's fine. then.
I
So then
would,
no more than 3 trucks?
I'd be in favor of 2.
2 trucks?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, 2 trucks.
Let's start it there.
Okay.
Town administrator make a decision if it's more.
They could park down at the police department and
Come park anytime, and she.
All right, leave it at 2 then for the number.
okay, we can change it.
Yeah.
If we need to.
So any more discussion? All in favor then of the approval of the special events policy as we amended it, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Nope. All right, now we're back to second reading of ordinance 1701. Is there a motion for second reading of ordinance 1701?
Oh, sorry, yes, yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Is there a second?
A second.
Talk about old people.
So this is the one where we're amending the chart table to add food trucks are allowed with conditions. Any more discussion? All in favor then, do so with show of hands.
Mr. Mayor, I mean, Mr. Walker had asked for an amendment to be made to the verbiage on top.
Oh.
The one that we had first reading on, so if you want to change the verbiage now.
Oh, yeah, for the now that we approve the special events policy,
Yeah.
we need to change the verbiage. Thank you, Bob, I forgot about that. We need to change the verbiage on the ordinance, which says, well, let me see, where's
To
it?
the amended version that's on here, that's on the iPad?
Yeah.
Okay,
This one.
okay, got it.
Oh, that's why I got two.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot.
And
about
to
this.
permit, so you want to go from the 1701 to the proposed amended 1701?
Right,
And,
which basically refers to the
instead of
special
saying
events.
be pre-approved by the town administrator, it will say will require special events permit.
Referring to the special events policy we just approved.
Yeah, okay.
But you didn't do that on the other one, that's all.
Yeah, okay. So there's a motion to amend 1701 to have the wording that's under the proposed amended 1701. Is there a motion
I
to
so
amend?
move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that amendment? All in favor then of the amendment, do so with show of hands. And any discussion then about that? All in favor then of second reading of 1701 as amended, do so with show of hands. That's done. Next is 1702. This is the one with the definitions on the RVs. Is there a motion for second reading of 1702?
I so move.
And a second?
I second.
Any discussion on that?
This includes RVs that are trailers, right? They call them third wheels or whatever, fifth wheels or something like that.
Well, the
This
fifth wheels
includes-
and trailers are already in the ordinance. We just didn't have anything that kind of defined
Motorhome.
motorhome, RV.
I
So
mean, but is that fifth wheel considered a motorhome, RV?
it's considered an RV, but it's not a motorhome, but it's an RV. But our other one said RV, recreational vehicle, is a camper, is a trailer pulled behind, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah, but it didn't have motorhome in it. So we're just kind of really adding that word motorhome to
Oh,
the
okay.
definition, so we all know that a motorhome is an RV. Because it lists the other stuff like campers and trailers, pull behinds and.
Yeah.
State Department of
Okay.
Transportation recognizes either one, but for tax purposes, the county gives a tax break for motorhome over recreational vehicle. And our ordinance didn't have motorhome mentioned in it.
So, yeah, it was argued that a motorhome wasn't an RV, even though it is, but we just need to add
Motorhome's
that to
much
it.
more expensive.
Yeah,
Yes.
So is that trailer a motorhome or is it RV?
RV,
RV.
recreation.
RV.
Trailer is an RV.
Yeah, a drivable trailer would be the motor, yeah.
So, all in favor then of second reading of 1702, do so with show of hands. Next is 1703. This is the one where we're changing the rules and stuff, or adding some words to the amendments and to the consideration of communication. Is there a motion for second reading of 1703?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
The button keeps hanging up here.
This is the one we changed the last time, right? Didn't
Yeah.
we? Yeah.
We had first reading on it, and it just says under old business and new business, everything must have the motion and second. We took off discussions. Like when we made the motion, what to go for approval of, technically, we don't have to have a second on a motion, but sometimes we do and sometimes we don't, but there's really no, so this just clarifies it and says, okay, from now on out, we'll get a motion and a second on everything.
All right.
Because I've even said sometimes we don't need it because we don't. Then sometimes I said, we made it, but we just need to clarify it.
Okay.
And then this also clarifies the thing on the amendments to the agenda, when you need a majority vote, when you need a 2/3. And then also more about the communication, consideration of communication. Any discussion?
The second one, the amendment to the agenda,
Yeah.
the state law requires us to have a 2/3 majority, as you referred back to your little flow chart. And that's what we approved last time we had this debate about whether or not this was an issue.
Well,
We approved a 2/3 majority.
the state law requires a 2/3 majority vote on an add to something that's not on the agenda, but it doesn't require a 2/3 majority vote to something already on the agenda, like moving something like we did on this thing a while ago where we moved it.
Well, normally,
Only when you add do you have to have 2/3.
Okay, but again, if you're amending the agenda, you're amending the agenda, you're changing it.
But we're not adding.
And, well,
There's a difference.
see, that's where I guess we have the conflict or the disagreement at, because to me, if you're amending the agenda, you're changing it, you're adding something to it or whatever. You're amending, you're changing it from
Changing it, correct. You're changing it, but you're not adding.
But you require a 2/3 vote to do anything to the agenda after it's been published, according to the
No,
state law.
No.
I mean, that's what it says.
no, it doesn't.
You can move.
It says right here.
Move is not the issue. The moving is not the issue.
All right,
Moving
let me
is
let me read it and
suspending the
clarify
rules
that.
and moving it.
After the meeting begins, an item upon which an action can be taken only may be added to the agenda by a 2/3 vote. Procedure to add item to a public meeting agenda within 24 hours. So it's when you're adding stuff that's not on the agenda. That's what the law says, and there are actually some things that you can add to the agenda that don't require 2/3 vote. If they don't meet that, whatever, flow chart, then, you don't have to have a 2/3. You
But
only
if
got to
you
have a
move
majority.
something on the agenda,
It's not
you
new.
you suspend the rules and
No.
move it. What do you mean, no?
You don't have to, no. Do you have a place on the agenda, and that's why it's on there, to amend the agenda? You can use suspend the rules to do stuff and take it out of order, but you don't
Right.
have to.
Exactly.
The other avenue is to amend the agenda and move stuff around, which you're entitled to do that as well. Only when you're adding stuff that's not on it do you have to follow this flow chart.
Just like moving C to follow
Yeah.
A.
That's suspending the rules and move. taking it out of
No,
order.
not necessarily.
it's-
That's amendment
It's
to the
amendment,
agenda.
which is what we did. We didn't
Suspend the rules and
rules.
taking it out of order. But listen,
That is an avenue. That's one of the, but it's
that's
not.
the way to do it. That's the correct way to do it.
No, it's not the correct way.
According to Robert's rules, and you like to
No,
follow Robert's rules, so
No.
that's fine.
Um,
If I if I have some difficulties with it, I have difficulties with it because you suspend the rules and move it.
I think the idea, though, is what is the agenda for? It's for the public to know what the council is going to do at this meeting. So when it's on here and you're just moving it around,
Right.
they know it's going to be brought up that night. All you're doing is moving it around. It's public that is an item we're going to address that night.
Right.
Versus if we add something, then the public has not been
Seen.
privy to that.
So the question is, how do you do that? How do you move stuff around?
He just,
making a,
Just like
No, answer that. How
he
could you-
just explained it to you per the law and per Robert's rules, right there.
Per Robert's rule, you suspend the agenda, you suspend the rules and move it out of order.
No, sir.
What do you mean, no, sir? He just said that's the correct way to do
can,
it.
but if you have a place on the agenda to amend the agenda, when you get to that spot, you can do it at that time instead of waiting till
And
later in
that's
the
fine. And if you do that, if you take it under that amendment agenda action item, you have to have the 2/3 vote according
No. No,
Only when you
Well,
add it.
only when you add do you have to have 2/3.
So we'll handle it the other way then. That's fine.
And, if you read that, it also says, will the item require a vote of council to be taken at the meeting? If the answer is no, you don't need a 2/3. If it's whatever that would be, then you don't need that. If the
Well,
answer
here's
is
an
yes, then you go to the other stuff.
Well, here's a classic example. We just voted on the special events policy. It required a vote of council. All right? that qualifies as
No.
an amendment to the agenda.
Because
You just read it.
If you're adding stuff to the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Then you suspend the rules and take it out of order.
But if I want to add
That's
something,
semantics. You can come to my house and ring my doorbell or knock on the door. You're going to get in. So we can suspend the rules or we can just amend it.
I know, these little
as long as
physics
it's
to
there.
me.
Well, I call the
Huh?
question.
I know, they're
I
little.
call the question.
semantics,
the
right?
question has been called. All in favor of the question, do so with show of hands. All right, we're ready to vote on.
All opposed?
All opposed.
Fine.
I understand your point.
Thank you.
1703, all in favor then of ordinance 1703, do so with show of hands. All opposed? The next is second reading of 1704. This is the one where we are adding, or changing actually. We removed a paragraph and we're replacing the paragraph that's in number 268. And we kind of reworded that to address that amendments to the agenda as well for special meetings, not regular meetings. So is there a motion for second reading of 1704?
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? And again, this is the one where the old 268 kind of talked about special meetings, emergency meetings, amending the agenda, and then some other stuff. But it really didn't clarify that the amendments to the agenda under that was only for special.
Yes.
So we kind of wanted to say, for special meetings, you do it this way. And we do have on here for special meetings, it's got to be a 2/3 vote. Because to me, if you're going to have a special meeting, you're doing it for a purpose, whatever that need is. You're coming to a meeting just to address this, just to handle this.
Okay, but this is a conflict with what we just
Then-
passed the first time.
Then it's not necessary that we amend the agenda at those meetings and add something to it. But if somebody wants to, and he gets 2/3, then fine. But normally the special meeting is for a one-purpose thing or two or something real short.
Yeah, but this is in conflict with what we just passed.
No, it's not, because this is for special meetings, the other one's for regular meetings.
Correct. So for special meetings, you have to have a 2/3 vote, but for regular meetings,
Yeah, but that's not because the state law requires it, that's because we're requiring it.
I believe the state law requires it all the time.
No.
As is basis. But again,
We're saying
I'll
that-
have arguments the next time before we.
Amendments to the agenda, and it doesn't say add, it just said amendments. Any amendment, whether you're adding or moving or changing or whatever, then you need that. But at the regular meeting, you just, no. So it's kind of separating them so we clarified on the two meetings.
So we need 2/3 on this, but the other one we don't need 2/3.
Right. Because you're only coming for a special thing at this meeting. There's no reason to come to that meeting to address.
But if I want to move
something.
stuff around, I require 2/3.
Yeah, because you're only going to have one or two things on there, and there ain't no reason to do that.
You just
So it's-
you just contradicted yourself, man. You said if I want to move one item that's already been published on this special meeting agenda, I require a 2/3 vote to do that.
Because it's in writing right here.
Special meeting.
It's
But
in
on the
writing.
other one, we just said we didn't require
It's not in
2/3
writing right
vote.
there. It's not
Special
in
meeting.
writing right there.
Oh, God.
This is in writing, that isn't.
Okay.
So it's simple. This we follow state law, this one we follow ours. And there's a difference between our ordinance and the state law.
I'm ready to vote. I'm
So all in favor then of 1704, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is new business, item A, first reading of ordinance 1705. This is where we have been asked to change the zoning on some property out on Salem Church Road from fringe agricultural, and some of it is actually general commercial, all of it to a PDD. Is there a motion for first reading?
So move.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? I don't know if y'all been up that way, but when you go behind Irmo Outdoor, you take a left at the fork, you go up there, cross the railroad track. As soon as you cross the railroad track, everything you basically see for X amount of feet on both sides belonged to Willard Boat Night, and he passed away, and his children, son, whoever, somebody, is wanting to just sell the property, settle the estate. These people are buying it and have submitted a plan to build a residential neighborhood. It's going to have, I don't say it's going to have, we don't know what it's going to have until they actually submit, but it's basically going to have some single-family residential homes, some patio homes, townhomes, but a mix of different type housing. The and you can't see them good, but the ones on that side of the black line is the railroad track, 16, 3, 21, and 17 on that side. Right now, 17 or 21 are zoned general commercial. 3 and 16 are zoned fringe agricultural, but they want to change it all so that they can lay it out how they want it. Mostly residential on this side of the railroad track and probably commercial on that side, but they may mix it up a little bit, you know, depending on what's on that side and everything. That's why they want the PPD or PDD. The good thing about the PDD is they draw up their plan, they submit it to the town gets to look at it and make changes. If they were to do single-family residential, then they just get to build what they want, so to speak, because it meets the zoning. So this is a little bit better, you know, it gives a little bit more, I guess, leeway for the town to look at it and address it and yay or nay and make, but at the same time, it gives them some flexibility to kind of use the property what's best beneficial. And, you know, they could do all the residential one day and do the commercial another. They may not want to do it all at one time. They may want to wait and, I don't know. But that's kind of what they're asking for, is to do the PDD.
I noticed that Salem Church cuts across the tail end of 17, where it connects with Dutch Fork. Has there been any question or plan to make Salem Church go straight into Dutch Fork?
There were plans years ago, but the property owner said no. They don't want it to come through. And so for right now, it's a big no. At some point down the road, they may change their tune, but
Because there's a lot of traffic on that road at times.
DOT had no interest in condemning property and forcing them, and building the road because they ain't got no money. And so, and the property owner didn't want to give it up. And I think they didn't want traffic coming through their parking lot, so to speak, or their property. So, yeah, I mean, it's still kind of a, we wish, but we haven't got the clout to make DOT or the property owner do it. And until they're ready on their own to say, yes, let's do this, and we don't have the money as a town to do it, even if, you know, DOT says y'all can do it, but we ain't got the money, then, you know, and I don't know that we should spend town money on doing something that everybody outside of the town is going to benefit. And a lot of citizens outside of the town would use that road that live all out here that's not in town and out towards the lake and everywhere else. So I think it's either the county or the state's responsibility, because that's a lot of other people using it. But who knows? They may come back one day and have a change of heart.
So this PDD, right now, under FA, fringe agricultural, I can go out there and shoot my gun.
Or at a varmint.
Right.
Yeah, and you can have chickens, and you can have cows and pigs.
All that
and
stuff
whatever.
out there. But under PDD, can I continue to shoot my gun?
No, because it's basically a single-family residential.
Under PDD?
Well, I mean, that's if they develop it that way.
But for
And
the
that's what
next-
they want.
For the next
They're
2
asking-
readings, I can shoot my gun.
If you, well, nobody lives there right now, so you can't shoot the gun. You'd have to be the property owner, or you'd have to have their permission.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I get permission on it, I can go in and shoot my gun.
Yeah.
And I'll invite you to come with me if you like.
But only-
And I think,
I mean, just to practice. If you would love to.
well, I actually shoot my gun driving range. And
Well, I mean, we can go closer. We can go up to the F.
I got pretty good at it.
Well, there you
And,
go. See?
I think I'm a pretty good fast draw.
Little levity. This
But can you hit anything with that fast draw?
Yeah. But yeah.
When
But
I
yeah.
could make book, we could have a little thing on the side here. Make some money for the town.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, any more discussion? All in favor then of first reading of 1705, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is first reading of 1706 to amend the Irmo Town Code. This is the one having to do with voting and not voting. Is there a motion for first reading of 1706? And I will make a motion for first reading. Is there a second?
Oh, second. Okay, I'm sorry.
This is the one where our ordinance right now just requires that every council member vote. It doesn't say what happens if they don't. And we had a incident, I guess, 1 meeting ago, 2 meetings ago, where one of our council members didn't vote, and so I think we had to have something in here that clarifies that a little bit more. I've talked to the Municipal Association, and they kind of agree that it should be done differently than voting and putting them down as a no vote, that they should be put down as an affirmative vote. The thinking is that if someone, you call for a vote, you call for a show of hands or a vote, and nobody votes, then evidently they don't want to vote yes, so they're negative. Even if they don't vote, you just count them that way. But if you have a roll call, then there's a question as, are they yes or no? And since the law, or since our ordinance requires us to vote, then I wanted to make sure we put something in there that says, okay, if somebody doesn't vote, we just count them in the affirmative and done with it. They're for it.
So if they don't vote, they're for it.
They're for it. And that clears it up, and that's what they say.
But you said it was against it.
Well, that's kind of what Robert's Rule says, but.
It's not kind of, does it say it or not?
Well, nothing in Robert's Rules is 100% clear. It says you should do it this way. If they don't
Okay,
vote,
so it doesn't
then
say
count
it.
them as a negative.
Okay.
Well,
But
the
they're
municipal
saying, count them in the affirmative, then that will force them to vote if they don't want to be counted in the affirmative. I don't know.
The Municipal Association told me I had to recuse myself from voting in that incident. when I
If you're
first-
recusing yourself, that's a different, but if you're not
But you have to
recusing
tell
yourself.
why and
Well-
fill out all that paperwork.
Yep.
That's
You have to
why I
tell
wanted
why,
to
and
table it.
also, even if you recuse yourself, the presiding officer can look at that and go, that's not a good reason, you're gonna vote. It's gotta be, it's gotta be a good reason, it's gotta be a, whatever that is, a legal reason or whatever. This one just has to do with somebody not voting, count them in the affirmative.
Well, if
and we're
the
done.
ordinance that we're trying to pass is against the rules, and
No,
I want to recuse
it's-
myself from
it's not.
participating in that because I don't want to get sued later on, then I can do that. I mean, but that's fine. You can
Well,
vote me out of order, but that's the bottom line is that
if somebody wanted to vote because they think something's illegal, then they have to prove it's illegal. They can't just think it's illegal. Thinking and being is two different things.
correct.
So they have to say and prove that it's illegal, whatever. Just thinking it
Like
is
us,
doesn't
like
mean it
us
is.
changing a 2/3 vote.
Yeah, right.
You cannot-
Thinking something is wrong or right doesn't mean it is wrong or right.
Right.
So you got to be right or wrong to be right or wrong, not just think you are. So anyway, back to this, and any more discussion?
No, let's vote.
All right, 1706, all in favor, first reading, do so with show of hands. All opposed? And we've done that one. Next item is D. This is the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee. We have $22,972.68, but I do not have something that shows who gets what.
I do.
I
Where's
think it
it
was
at?
in the
It's on the,
Well, I ain't got a paper copy, and I don't.
I think
at
it's on the administrator's briefing, isn't it?
yeah,
It's somewhere, I saw it.
it's right here.
Okay, it's right there.
So,
Well, it's in the administrative briefing breakdown.
So-
I knew I'd seen it.
Lake Murray wants $12,634.97, and
It is there.
Okerstrut wants $10,337.71.
It's not what they want, it's what they approve.
Well, yeah, that's what
Okay.
the accommodations people approved.
Right.
Yeah, I think they both wanted more, maybe one of them wanted more. Now, this is a recommendation, just like stuff that comes from the planning commission. We can approve it, we can change it, we can basically do whatever we want. The two things I would suggest is, one, if you want to amend it, that's fine. But just be cognizant of these people took their time and energy to do whatever we didn't do and listen to everybody that gave them a whatever, and then they made a decision. If we amend it, that's fine. But if we amend every one of them they ever give us, sooner or later, they're going to say, hey, we don't even want to serve
I
anymore.
think we ought to go with it.
So, yeah, we need it, because we have it, we don't, all we got on here approved was to disperse the money, not a dollar amount. So we need something from somebody that says, do it 50/50, do it 45/55 like it is, do it this and that.
Do what they recommended. They said.
Well, somebody's got to make a motion.
I
I
make
thought
a
we just
motion.
did.
No, we just
Okay,
made a
I
motion
second
to
it.
split it up.
Okay, we got
I
a
second
motion
it.
and a second.
All right. So we're going to do the, whatever's on this thing.
Right.
55 to
45.
and 45. Any discussion about that? All in favor then of that approval, do so with show of hands. Next is the approval of the Oak Strut budget, and I think we have that. You can see on here, their expenses is 84,988. Their revenue is 84,988. Does anybody have any? Well, let's get an approval first.
I read it.
Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Oh, did I write all over that? Nope, good.
I second.
Okay. And this is the gentleman, if you have any questions, you can ask him. So, y'all got any questions?
No, and he looks tired.
Well, one of the things we discussed in this unsightly and dilapidated was possibly earmarking some money in the Okra Strut, maybe since it's for the citizens of Irmo and citizens do come, for a fund to help these people that can't afford to fix their houses and whatever. Just toss that out.
Mm-hmm. It would
Yes.
have to be administered by a charitable organization, but
Yes,
You'd have to give it to a charitable organization.
Sure.
Could not be responsible for doling that out.
no,
Or we could just set
we've already
X
got
amount of
charitable
dollars in there and tell them people to go see a church, and if a church calls and says, hey, we got somebody, we need 5,000, then we could say, okay, we'll take the 5,000 and give it to you, or whatever it may be. But yeah, that's something that, between us and them, somebody's got to say, here's what we want to do.
Yeah.
They may want to give that money to another charity, whether it's, say, Sharon God's Love.
Has to be a
whoever.
501c3.
Or we could set up a 501(c), yes. And I think that's probably one of the better things. Not for that, but we just set one up.
The town can't set
No,
up a
not tonight.
501c3.
Cannot administer these monies.
right.
no,
It's a very poor idea for the town to get into business.
Right.
that's right.
The town can contribute to a 501c3 or even some other charitable institution that doesn't enjoy a 501c3 status. That's just a tax code status. But the town cannot get into should not get into the
Right.
business
I agree.
of administering the
Understood.
And I think there's even some cloud over us giving tax dollars, which even though that isn't really actually, it's still under our
Yeah.
review, and it's our money, and it is tax dollars because it belongs to us, to a charitable organization without something in return. Because like when we give to the chamber, they got to provide something in order to get something, and they provide the Welcome Center.
Well, I think what we would get back is help for
Yeah.
people in need.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
just
the
have to
town
kind
would
of,
And I've already talked to 3 churches that
They're
are
ready.
most interested.
Yes.
And we're fortunate that we have 3.
but if the Okra Strut were a 501(c), then they could do what they wanted to with the money without us ever
Yep.
getting involved in it. And there's some food for thought there too. But for right now,
Let's just,
any questions on the budget?
No, we want to vote.
Yes.
All in favor then of the budget as submitted, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Whoop, good, you're gone. It's approved. And let's see. Next is the approval of the budget amendment for $121,176.08 for 4 police cars at Love Chevrolet that are kind of on sale and on the hot track to go somewhere if we don't get them. So is there approval for
so moved.
that budget amendment?
I second.
Any discussion?
No, I think we ought to hurry up and buy them.
Yep.
Chief, this is the last chance of getting Impalas, right?
This is the last Impala ever made.
And they're still making those 2018 Teslas, right? And those are fuel efficient
Yeah.
electric cars. And they have a police package too, I believe. I sent,
I'm not sure, I hadn't even looked into
But
I
we
can
have to
send
have
you
a
a copy of the
charging
police
station.
package if you'd like to see it.
I don't know what the price is.
Probably out of our budget.
I think one would be
One Tesla
121.
costs what
I
we're
think you're right.
budgeting for
I think
4
this-
police cars.
Yeah, but we'll save on gas though, because
Have you priced the batteries on those?
I bought
suckers?
gas at $1.91 today, too.
Well, I bought it in Mississippi for $1.85.
all I'm saying is down the road, since they're not making any on Paula's anymore, maybe you can consider the police package Teslas.
But we're saving, how much we saving, Bob? 23,000?
About 23,000.
23,000. I mean, this is.
I'm
a
ready to
great
vote.
deal.
I'm ready to vote.
vote.
I'm ready to vote.
Let's
They're not
vote.
making them anymore. That's what I'm saying. That next
this is it.
round, the next go round, look at the Teslas.
Next go around, Ford's building an Interceptor.
Yeah, you can look at them, just don't put it on our
We
budget.
might look at hybrids, but we won't be
$50,000
looking
car
at
for a
Teslas, I'll tell you that.
Okay, let's.
All right, all in favor then of the budget amendment to buy the 4 police cars for $121,176.08, do so with show of hands. Next is the approval to award a contract to Team Logic IT in the amount of $7,900 to upgrade the town website. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I noticed a couple of folks here were bidding large amounts for
Yes.
startup, and then they went down a little bit for annual cost, but some of them didn't go down for annual cost much of anything. In
Right,
fact, they want annually what this one's going to charge us for startup,
right, right.
and it's local.
Yeah, there were a lot of them that are not local. Some of them are in foreign countries and out of the country.
Yeah,
and
Ontario.
Other side of the world, which is kind of still, some of these places
Well, Serbia is not local.
in California, I don't know. Sometimes I think they're foreign country, but that's just me
Do
personally.
you have a, Bob, you got a list of what the requirements are? What the requirement? Can I see that?
Now, it's my understanding too, Bob, and I may be backwards on what you said, but the one at 7,500, they didn't have an annual cost. The one that was at 5,400, they didn't have references?
Yeah. They were
Something,
brand
so
new.
those two were marked off because they didn't meet,
It was non-responsive.
yeah, they didn't meet the stuff.
Yeah, that was in the administrator's briefing.
So the next lowest one was the 7,900.
That's correct.
Now, I don't know how long websites are before they go out of whatever.
They're not out, it's a style thing, and the fact that we wanted to add credit card payments on ours, and we wanted to add interactive forms on ours, and we also wanted to add the ability to.
But you may have to update them every so often, and I don't, when did we do this one last?
I'm sorry,
When did we do this website last?
the one that we currently have, let's see, that was 2006.
So that's 10 years?
Wow.
11 years?
2005 maybe.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
been a long time.
Because I went through and I just estimated 8 years. If it lasts 8 years, then if you take 8 times whatever the annual cost is and add it to whatever the upfront is and kind of came up with a dollar amount there, like the one at 9,600, at 2,900 a year became 32,800. So, and the other one at 16,800 became 57,120. Some of them got kind of pricey.
There's one that goes up to 73,000.
Yeah. So they, you know, when you look at that annual cost and add it to the upfront cost, you kind of compare them all together. That one still, Team Logic still turned out to be the least. They were at 16,380.
Most of the hosting is pretty standard cost.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, why would somebody charge 5,000 for hosting and somebody else charge 1,200?
Right.
Server.
365
We have a
or-
server built.
Okay, I think this is good. Plus, it's at Dutch Square, so we know where that is. So we ought to vote.
One more thing before you do that. The requirements you had on there,
Yes, sir.
one of the things is to have access to those videos through our iPads. We're having a problem with it now. You know, that's not spelled out in your proposal there, so those are one of the things that, if we're gonna go through all of this.
Yeah, the iPads and the video issues that we have now, sometimes you can see the video, it's an
Right.
Apple issue, it's not the local hosting.
It's a hosting issue because you can do it sometimes, but you can't do it sometimes.
That's correct.
It's a hosting issue, it's not an Apple issue.
The Apple
If-
iPad doesn't like the format.
Yeah, but if I can do it sometimes and I can't do it other times, it's a hosting issue.
The hosting is nothing more than.
Put it this way, on this new one, will I be able to do it?
Not all the time.
Not acceptable. It's not acceptable
Well-
because you're not getting taking full advantage of the technology that we got. It should be you should be able to look at it through your iPhone if you want to look at a video.
That's right.
And you can't on the iPads. So I don't want us to go and spend $7,000 for a new site and we still have the functionality problems.
Bob is saying that's not a website, that's an iPad issue, and
It's
the only
not
way
an
to
iPad
limit that
issue if you
is to
can't do it.
replace the iPads.
Are they splash videos?
They're flash.
That is an Apple thing. I have to have a special download to my Apple
But why can't I do it sometimes?
because it'll let you do it sometimes.
No, that's
It's
not
an
acceptable.
Apple thing. It really
That's not
is a flash.
acceptable. I need to get a resolution to that before
Well,
these guys are.
you need to contact Apple.
Huh?
It's an Apple thing.
Yeah, you're gonna have to record it something other than Flash if you're gonna do that.
Or we'd have to get a different iPad or a different whatever, or a different, some,
It's just Flash. The maker of Flash does not like and does not license
That's right.
Apple products. So
I've encountered
you
that.
can't Download, what is it, Java that makes Flash?
Yeah, JavaScript, yeah.
JavaScript. And so
Yes.
It's a problem with Apple. Apple's not compatible with Java.
But we have a new system that creates videos. It's not a flash.
We can change it now. We can format like 3 types of videos.
Correct.
So yes, we should not have a problem you shouldn't have a problem now.
Well, I do. I can't even get to the screen that allows me to look at the videos. That's what the problem is, not the actual video playing. I can't even get to that screen from the website.
from your iPad though.
Correct.
But, yeah, you could do it from your home computer or,
All day long.
yeah.
Well, that explains that.
And
It's not the playing of the video, it's getting to the screen to allow me to look at the video. You can't do it from on the iPad, or I can't do it consistently.
do you know it?
I hope it works. I mean, I'm not an IT guy. And all these guys, they can, all kinds of wow factors and do whatever.
Would you put that in there and ask them if I'd be able to get to the screen to display the videos from my iPad?
And that would be true for every one of these vendors probably, or is it?
Right.
So all of them may have the same
Like
problem.
Eric said, if we come up with the right format that Apple will like.
What
It's
most
all
people-
proprietary stuff.
What most people do to do an end run on this project, on this type of thing, is they would have multiple formats that would be listed on your website. So you would have a Flash web link to the video.
It's not the actual playing of the video, it's getting to the screen, it's getting to the page that allows me to play the video. I can't even get to the page from a website. That has nothing to do with the flash video. It has to do with the website not allowing that iPad to do that.
I'd have to see it. I know it comes up a lot with my stuff where I.
Well, come here, I'll show it to you after the meeting. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
take a look at it.
I'll call them and check it out for you.
All right.
Now, yesterday, when I tried to get on here, on our website, to pull up 269, the one from whenever is on our town website. And that thing was dated in 16 or 15. It was passed in June of 16, when we amended 269, ordinance 1608. How come the old one's still up there? I thought they updated on the computer every 2 or 3 months or something.
Have we sent the last update to him, do you know, the codification? That's what he's asking about.
Yes. As of September. I just, because I'm sending it quarterly now, because they were being sent just whenever. And so I just sent the ones up this week for October through December.
But what about the ones from,
Those should be all on.
and they're not. Yeah, because when I tried to pull it up, because I thought we changed it, and I'm like, this ain't changed. I thought we did something. Bob had to pull up a paper copy and bring it to me. And I don't know if this way we're doing it now, we will be able to go in there and change this stuff and not wait on
That won't
them.
happen with the website update. That's the Unicode problem there.
yeah.
Right, okay, so that's Muni Code that's doing that. But now we're gonna be able to set up that page. Well, this is Muni Code because she sent it to them 6 months ago.
Correct.
So they hadn't even done,
We've had that problem for years with them.
so we're still gonna deal with them. But now, can we have a page on there that everything we amend, like tonight, next week or something, it's on this, I'm gonna call it one page where somebody's looking on their town code to find out something.
And see what the update is.
And then they're told, make sure you go to this update page and see what else has been updated that isn't in the Duke trip.
All of the bids included that. We have
Okay.
full access to town hall to make any changes anytime we want. We won't have to go to an outside source to get the changes done.
So they'll be able to either look in there or look on that page and know we made changes and we better check this page.
We have that ability, just staff, we can type it in. Still won't
Okay.
have the-
Still won't have it in Muni Code until, okay. I get,
Please turn down the heat a little bit, please. It's very warm.
I don't even know where it is.
Well, I see it.
Over there.
I mean, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I had to take off my coat.
I know it was hot when I saw you do that.
Tap the screen.
It's actually not even on. It's not even on.
Oh, but it's warm.
It's not on.
A lot of hot air in here.
Well, the high today was 77, so it's,
All righty.
Put the AC on.
I even put the top down today.
So we have made a motion and second for 7,900. Any more discussion? All in favor then of awarding that to Team Logic in the amount of 7,900 plus 1,060 a year for annual cost, do so with show of hands. And
Opposed?
next is the,
Opposed?
Opposed?
oh, opposed? Oh, I thought you voted for it.
Two.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do this. All righty. Next is the approval to advertise for bids on this Cornerstone subdivision issue that the developer hadn't done everything he's supposed to do, and the bond had expired, the letter of credit, whatever had expired. We have some engineering cost from
Make a
Hybrid
motion.
that kind of
Make a
go.
motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
I hate to do this, but I don't see any way around
Yeah.
it.
No way around it.
There's a cost, Mr. Mayor, just so you know, I got the numbers this morning from Hybrid, and it's $12,205 for them to come up with the plans before we can bid them out. Got
So-
that plan.
So they need $12,000 to make a plan, and then we had to bid it out.
Correct.
And we're looking at right now roughly on their estimate, not counting their 12,000, I guess, we're gonna spend about 150
Right.
to
No, that's it. That includes.
correct the problems out there.
Why is this not part of the community's problem, the neighborhood's problem?
Infrastructure doesn't normally fall under the homeowners. It's the roadway. Roads belong to
Yeah, but
the town.
the builder that built that subdivision or that neighborhood supposedly had done all the things that needed to be done. And you tell us-
Supposedly.
And you tell us now it's not, it has been done, but they're having decay problems after the fact.
It was not done to standards and it wasn't accepted by the county.
Okay, so then at that point, why is it not the neighborhood's issue to fix it?
Because it
People
really
involved.
isn't.
When was Cornerstone built?
I'm sorry?
When was Cornerstone first built?
It started in 2007, I believe, but it was 2010 when the bond ran out and the project wasn't done. I think they completed building the last house like last year.
So
I think they
previous-
still got 2 lots they're
Okay,
working
they
on.
had a long dry spell where they didn't do any building over there, and they got another builder to come in.
The builder went,
So previous administrator, not you, didn't
Whatever.
keep up with this.
Like the issue we had with Ridgemont before my time, it's just another,
So the
And then
bond, so the bond expired, so now we're stuck with it, correct?
yeah.
well,
Somebody is, the county is, or we are, and if we don't do it, then the county's gonna push it off on us.
it belongs to the town. Technically, all roads in the town belong to the town. We just try to get the county to accept them for maintenance because we don't have the ability, the resources to go out and pave roads.
Well, you can always hire, we could
Yeah.
bid out a contract for somebody to do it.
Yeah. We
Wouldn't that
could.
be cheaper than spending $12,000 for plans and another $150,000 or whatever it's gonna cost us to get it done?
Pave a road, yes, it would be more expensive.
I'm saying, wouldn't it be
Yes.
cheaper? Wouldn't it be cheaper for us just to bid it out as we need it? Instead of worrying about the county
I don't
accepting
think
it?
so, but
Well, the only.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Is we would do it now or whenever. If we do it
Right.
10 years from now. And we
Right.
do another, so probably in the long run, no, it's not. And at the same time, we're not.
And we can't put it back on the neighbors and say, okay, we're gonna spend $200,000 to fix this problem. We're gonna divide it up by the number of homes in that neighborhood and y'all owe us
Do they make
a
you
tax.
fix your road in your neighborhood?
No, because it's been done to code.
It's been done by the county and they took it over.
It's been done to code too. And we don't have the issues they're having. Okay.
When they do that thing that says, all these roads and all these sidewalks and all this stuff.
Right.
It's gonna cost, say, $200,000 to fix it. They give us a bond. And if they do all that, we give them the $200,000 tax and the county takes it over. But when that guy went belly up and nobody was building anything, nobody's checking to see, when he comes in and get a building permit, is that bond letter of credit still there? If he doesn't come in, there's really no incentive on their part to go and check that.
So did they give him back his bond?
Yeah, well, it expired.
It expired.
He got his money back.
Okay.
And then it sits there for a long time.
So the new builder comes in there and
But
infringes,
he's not a developer.
but the new builder comes in and builds under that bond and it doesn't exist anymore, so,
Well, he comes in and buys 6 lots.
right?
And all he's got to do is build 6 houses on 6 lots. He doesn't have to do anything because he's not the developer. It's like when a developer buys and develops it, he could sell 10 lots to this builder, 10 lots to that builder, and they're all going to do their thing. But he's responsible for that. And since there is no more he, he's not taking it over until.
How many more subdivisions we got like that in this community?
To my knowledge, this is the last one. We're working on Garden Brook right now, and Mr. Wade Quinn, who's the developer there, and
When does that bond expire?
not yet.
Not yet,
Pretty soon.
but soon.
Now,
2 months.
Before it expires, you're gonna,
talk to him about writing a letter? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's in the process.
We're writing a letter, so we're going to extend that letter of credit, or he better get his.
Act together.
We're not giving his money back. In fact, we're going to ask the bank for his money. They're ready to do whatever out there, but there's some issues that he has resolved, and they're not ready to resolve it. But like this new subdivision get built, well, they'll get one too, and somebody's just got to remember, whether it's Bob, Eric, Nate, or whoever, somebody has to.
yeah.
Who's looking at the dates on these bonds when they're expiring?
Well, right now it's me, after we had that problem with Ridgemont. That's why we discovered this one.
And remember I asked for a second pair of eyes on there?
Yeah, we almost need a
Well, this
second or
was
third.
7 years ago, this bond expired.
I understand, but I'm saying now, I want to make sure that it's not just on one person, that we have a check. That's all.
Both Vi and I are checking it. She's got on her calendar, and so do I, to make sure we follow up.
Okay. Okay.
Good deal.
Especially with the new subdivisions coming into town, because we got 2 new subdivisions coming.
Mhm.
One on Irmo Drive and the one now, once we get through the rezoning.
Is that the Trussell property on Irmo Drive? They finally going to start?
If,
Property, that's correct. Well, we've got the plans now, so they're gonna start moving dirt soon, I would hope. They got all the funding, that's got 180 houses going in over there.
so
Hire some police.
if I may, Eric,
That should be added to your audit list, and let your auditor check to make sure that he's doing that as your second look. It's a standard item in an audit, municipal audit.
We can check it and see.
Okay, that's a good idea.
All right.
Eric, if I may, Eric, is there any legal recourse we have here?
Sure, there's legal recourse, it practically doesn't make any practical.
That's what I'm asking.
Doesn't make any practical sense if the developer is under.
We're stuck.
I mean, suing somebody, I can sue, I can get a judgment.
Yeah, but
But winning and getting paid are two entirely
In your opinion, we're stuck, it's
I
this.
have not looked into the developer status as to whether or not they're an ongoing concern or if they have any assets or whatnot. I asked Bob, talked to Bob about it, and he tells me they're gone, that they're under. And if they're under, I have people come in my office all the time wanting to sue somebody. And like I said, suing and winning and suing and getting paid are two entirely separate animals.
Understood.
Yes, they are.
Understood. Okay.
I mean, the way around it, like Mr. Walker was asking, is, you know, everybody pays taxes. So the county's collecting all the taxes, and that's why once they collect this road for the maintenance, they've got the money coming in. If they gave us the money, we could take care of it. But
Sure.
that's not gonna happen, they don't get rid of the money either. for the
Yeah.
county.
Ah,
To, approve paying hybrid $12,000 or some dollars, whatever it is, as part of that process. If we approve them to bid it out, then we're also approving them, paying them for the dollar amount, 12,000.
And then we're gonna, when, after they bid it out and it comes back at $500,000 to do the work, but we gotta approve that after the fact. Okay, so we just, okay. That's fine.
Yea or nay, or?
Right.
So,
Okay.
all in favor then to approve paying hybrid engineering, whatever dollar amount it was, 12,000? Is that the dollar on there, $12,205?
That's their engineering cost.
Yeah.
To do the bid.
Well, this is the total cost of doing the job, right?
No, that's the
At this
engineering
time?
design.
No,
Total cost to get the plan so that he can give the builder, so the contractors can know what they've got to come in and fix.
But 150 is his estimate of what all that stuff is gonna be.
Contractors can't give you a bid price.
well, what's the 125? That's the cost of doing this work,
Yeah.
right?
That'd be the- yeah, cost of that.
So 156,614 is the total cost of getting the job done as of now.
That's what he's estimating.
Say again?
You haven't taken bids on it yet.
Right, but I mean, that's his estimate.
Correct, and it could be wrong.
That's his estimate based off the inspection that we had in November from the county, that's correct.
Okay.
They-
Yeah, it may cost more, it may cost less
Correct.
once they get the bids out. So we're not going to add a whole nother bunch on this unless the prices are higher.
Not to 150, I would hope not.
Right.
I hope they put a little fluff in there when they gave us.
Yeah. Well, they got a 10% contingency in there anyway.
So, all in favor then of approving hybrid to bid that out and handle that, do so with show of hands? All opposed? Did you?
he said yes.
Oh. All right.
It's that fast draw.
Oh, this is the one to do with the wall, approval to solicit bids to install that wall over here.
Oh, man.
Town hall and public work, and I asked that to be on there so we could yea or nay that up and down one way or the other. I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
We don't know what it's gonna cost, Bob will have to bid it out. What I'm asking is a concrete cinder block stucco wall to match the stucco in this building here.
Mr. Mayor, watch the speaker.
Oh, I think my battery went dead.
Oh.
You must have been here a while.
Divine intervention.
Second.
We can go ahead and vote.
Pick two.
Why did you have to find those? If you hadn't have found them, we could adjourn in a minute.
There.
Second.
Okey dokey. Where was I at?
Approval of solicit bid, second.
Yeah, and we put 40,000 in our budget last year?
45,000.
45?
For the wall?
Well, we just put a number because we didn't know.
And we didn't know if it was going to be a fence either.
Yeah, we didn't know.
We're gonna get bids on this, right? And it's gonna come back with a number. I second it to
Yeah,
get
and
the
then we
bids.
decide what it's gonna be then.
Okay, great. I second it.
Costs us nothing to get bids.
Yeah, and we'll see for sure. And, yeah, I'll talk about that later. But, okay, all in favor then of doing the bids?
Bids,
Um,
good.
Well, I said concrete, that's what I was saying,
He said
concrete cinder
concrete
block
block.
with stucco. Yeah, with stucco on it. so it matches the post out there and all
Okay, yeah,
that.
he's talking about concrete block with stucco over it.
And-
So fence is not in this equation.
Well, it was, that's why I said last time. we
Yeah, we talked about last time fence or, but
We had cinder block wall.
I just think the fence would be, I won't say ugly, but that's what I'm gonna say, as opposed to a more
Not
attractive.
that coated fence, you know, that's coated with vinyl, that, I think that looks good, but.
Yeah, but it's still going to me look
Well,
chintzy.
Well, before we do this, that whole area back here is not protected on all four sides.
Yeah, this is nothing for security.
this is aesthetics.
Yeah, just mainly aesthetic.
Well, I think an aesthetic chain link fence would provide protection as well as, and at some later date, you could always put a wall in front of it. But if the police chief or one of his designees is driving through to inspect the work sheds down there, if there's a wall, you're not going to be able to see what's going on the other side of that wall.
Well, if you put up a fence with that stuff in it, you won't either.
No, it's coated. It's not,
It's
the
vinyl
slats are
coated,
not in
yeah,
it.
you can see,
you can see through it.
yeah.
But that's not going to accomplish the
I
idea of
think we ought to
blocking the view.
defer this to the next meeting, because some of us.
Well, we deferred it and it went nowhere for,
Well, we
what,
can
6
defer
months
it
or
to the
something?
next
and-
meeting when we don't have a two-page agenda, and we can discuss this wall and fence better.
Or we can go ahead and get bids and find out what does it cost, and then we know. Do we want to do that?
Well,
or
you
not?
want to get bids as a wall or a fence?
I want a wall. I wouldn't
Okay,
vote
that's
for a
fine.
fence.
So we can get bids as wall, but we
Say
also
no
want to
to
get
a
bids
fence.
as fences also, what the cost was? Is that true? I mean,
I understand.
Can
We
we
get
get,
both,
can we get a
fence
bid
or
on
wall.
both?
I guess we could.
can we get bid on
Can
both?
we get a bid to put a fence around the whole area and then
Or a
a
wall.
separate bid for the wall?
Not
down?
around the whole area.
No. the
'Cause you
aesthetic
can't fence
part.
that whole area.
Aesthetic part.
Why not?
Well, we can't block the road over there, that belongs to SC&G.
Put a gate.
It's gotta be open.
Backside.
Hmm?
The dirt road on the backside over here, we can't block that road at all. We can't put a gate on it, they have to have access to it all the time.
Well, it doesn't have to be a gate, well,
And part of it is kind of not conducive to putting anything up around this area right over here. And that's what came up years ago.
So
was
can we
just-
have a bid on both or not? So that's what I'd like to do, if we can have a bid on both fence or wall.
Fence and wall from
Correct.
here to there. Right there.
I can live with that.
I think that's good. If the police can't see in, how are they going to prevent crime? If they can't, that's our stuff down
How
there.
do they prevent crime in somebody's
If
backyard
they
with a
see
privacy
somebody
fence?
driving our backhoe off, they can stop them. Well,
Well,
if
more
they
than likely,
hurry.
if somebody steals the backhoe,
Yeah.
I'm hoping they.
I'm just saying,
whatever.
I don't think it's a good
Most of
idea.
that stuff locked up in a building anyway, yeah. So most of the stuff back there is locked up in a building. This was only an idea for hiding it out of view, not,
Because you want to put your art on it.
well, that's different altogether whenever that comes up, I don't know. But no, I agree with, I think Harvey brought it up years ago, to hide it, just to hide it. And make it look more attractive over here, whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, so all in favor then of the bid to get a bid on a wall and a fence from somewhere here to somewhere over there along our property line? Because our property line ends kind of right there at the end of that little parking lot. And then that other person owns all that other stuff. All in favor then, do so with show of hand. And next is the approval to rebid the town's garbage contract. Is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion.
And
I
that's,
second it.
and I will recognize y'all two to go since y'all, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that we continue to have problems with advanced. So I want to see what our current options will be going forward. If we decide to do it now versus waiting until the end of this year, I'd like to know what that's going to cost.
What do you mean continue to having problems?
Let Julius, since
Based on what the young lady over here doing her nails said, we've had more complaints since we had the bid off back in December and decided to let Advance continue. with the promise they were going to improve service. We gave them a 3% increase with the promise of another one in March. And my feeling
I don't
is...
think we gave them the second one.
No, we haven't given them a second one yet.
I don't think we,
We haven't got a multiple day schedule either.
but I don't think there was no agreement to the second. It was just the one.
No, not in writing. It was a formal agreement that council made to give them one payment that they asked.
The one, but not a second one.
No, but they did say they would like one, and some people did say they would, if they improved their service, and the service hasn't improved. And they're very inefficient. When they missed a whole area in Old Friars Gate, they sent a pickup truck, a big Ford pickup truck with a lift on the back, and it did 1 block and was full. And then it sat at the end of the street for 3.5 hours until they sent a big truck out to take care of it.
And sometimes they don't come back until the next day or two.
That's true.
And they've told us time and time again they have no trucks that can do these cul-de-sacs where the big trucks won't get in. Well, where'd this truck come from? Because it wasn't a brand new truck. It's been around. That could be taking up the slack in the cul-de-sacs. When we had our proposals in December, we had a company out of state tell us that they would give us 3 brand new trucks for the town of Irmo. That's all they needed. Our current one said they needed 12. And then a local entrepreneur, I should say, who's been in the garbage business since he was probably knee-high to a toad frog, said he only needed 3 trucks to take care of it. And checking his references, he hasn't had much problem in Richland or Lexington County.
Yeah.
So these guys need 4 times as many trucks, and they still can't give us a service. So that's why I'm on board with Councilman Pouliot to bring this back up again.
Okay.
So we continue to have more problems?
You have to ask Kay. I mean, I don't think it's gotten worse, it hasn't gotten better.
Well, it's fine. Kay, how many calls did we get from the time, I guess, well, what? Was it December?
Averaging was 30 to 40 a week, but remember now, just because we get those calls, that's not all the problems. I mean, we might get 1 call from a missed street, you really should have got 20 calls.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I'm saying, how many, has it gotten worse from the time we?
It's not gotten better.
I know it hasn't gotten better, but have you gotten an increase of calls?
Yeah.
Okay, so the calls volume is the same, and these people are supposed to come up with a plan to go to multiple days, and they haven't done that yet.
Nope.
But I thought we gave them 2 months or 3 months to do it, right?
We did.
Okay, so
Well,
They haven't
when
even-
did we do that? Are the months up yet?
no,
No,
it's
we
only
didn't give them 2
February.
months. We gave them until March,
Right.
what they requested.
And that's why this is February, and I'd like to go out again and have this ready. So we can see what their proposal is. If we agree that the proposal is not going to fly,
Yeah, I think that's premature, though. I think you need to wait until March when they go to the 3 multiple days.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to stay the same. I think this company is inept in what they're doing.
No, I don't agree with their net. I think that we told them we'll give them until March, and we need to give them until March. The call volume hasn't increased according to our call person, and we still, 30 calls out of 4,000 homes is not that much.
Well, stop and think about one thing.
So,
People
I
put
mean-
the garbage out at night, and most people in Irmo, unlike myself that am retired, go to work. When they come home, it's 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock.
It's too late.
Can't call the town of Irmo. You can call advance and get the recording.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's premature. I think you do it. You don't have to act on it, but I think you do it so you're ready.
We already did it once. We already had the bid
Yep.
from people.
Yeah,
that
and
did it,
and
we
Advance
didn't-
said they were going to fix it.
Right.
No, they didn't. And that's why I disagree. We listened to 3 companies, and the 2 companies, new companies, said they needed 3 trucks to do multiple days. Advance was using 12 trucks or whatever it was for 1 day a week. They didn't say 3 trucks for 1 day or through multiple days. And what we said was, we will give y'all a chance to bring us a plan, whatever that multiple day plan was, in February, implement it in March, and then we'll see what you do after that. So they really haven't even had a chance to implement their plan. Now, whether they do a better job after that, I don't know. My guess based on what I've seen with them, no. My guess based on people I've talked to in other counties, no. Because they do multiple days there, and they're not. But at the same time, what we said was, we will let y'all come up with a plan. You got until February sometime to get it. I think they told Bob not too long ago that they were probably going to have it here in the next couple of weeks, so to speak. And then if we approve it, then in March, the first Tuesday, whatever that day is, or sometime in there, they would start implementing that new plan. Now, that is kind of what we told them.
That's what we told them. But
Yes.
they knew, they
Well-
were on notice that we had rebid it, we were unhappy.
And we
were gonna
canceled
choose
those
some-
bids.
It seems to me we should have had no complaints by
Why?
now.
They're the same company doing the same product.
They're doing
1
the
day a
same-
week.
yeah.
So
But
there's
they
nothing
have
gonna
a
change.
special manager that they brought in because that particular location is a big problem. They've already been fired by multiple municipalities.
They were fired before we canceled the bid.
I understand. I understand. With less work, you would think that they would be able to get their act together. They have less work now. They have other municipalities that they don't have anymore.
They probably got less drivers and less trucks and all that.
well,
All I'm saying is, if I
again-
tell somebody y'all do this, I'm gonna keep my word on that and say, hey, you got until March, you better do us a better job, you better do this, you better do that. Give them a month or 2 or 3 or whatever. I don't know. If we were going to cancel it, we should have canceled it back then and chose one of the other two. Instead of telling this company, go do all this work for us, switch over. And then before they ever get there, we're like, okay, you're not improving. Well, I knew they wouldn't improve. They're doing the same 1 day a week with the same guys in the same trucks. How can they improve? They can't. That's why we wanted to go to multiple days, so that they could stretch it out and hopefully do a better job with multiple days. At one time, everybody in Irmo did multiple days. We never had these problems until they chose to go to single day.
It was
I
their
think-
choice.
Yeah, and we allowed it.
Yeah, but
And we also voted before to make them go back to multiple days, and we did. And then before the week was over, we changed our mind and went back to single day. And we're still stuck with the same service because they're trying to do it in 1 day and they can't do it in 1 day. They can't do it in 1 day. They never-
I put my faith in them 4 different times, and
Well-
my faith has now waned.
My faith was gone a long time ago, but we told them, and that's it's important to me when we tell somebody, okay, we're going to give you a second chance, and starting in March, you're going to be on multiple days, and we're going to give you some, you better prove it to us. We didn't say prove it to us between now and then. We said switch to multiple days. So that's, I don't know. I would have to wait. And I think too, if I were a bidder and I were one of these other companies and I got a low bid and you're going to bid it back out and maybe I don't got the low bid no more, I'm going to be a little bit upset that you're bidding it back out again. And, everybody has a chance now to go, oh, we better get under whatever, $14, $15 or something, but we ain't got a chance. And I don't know, but I think you told me before, when those bids were turned down, they're turned down. It's kind of hard to go back and tell these people, honor them, when we've said, we're not out there to call.
That's fine, but we can rebid it if they don't meet the criteria in March, or actually not March, but maybe
But
April or
I
whatever.
bet you some of them people are going to be sharpening their pencil, and the person that was lowest or second lowest may not be anymore.
Right.
And I would be a little bit upset. I don't know. I would think that's a little hoodwinky, because we're kind of giving the other higher bidders an advantage now to come back and sharpen the pencil and give us a shot again. But
Well, Mom always said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool you, excuse me.
Well, we've been
Fool me
down this
twice,
road
shame
so
on
many
me.
times, I'm
Well,
tired.
but the reason we're here is because we told them.
We told them March, okay.
We told them, give us a plan,
Then-
go back to multiple days,
then-
go do this, and we haven't.
I would I'll table this.
I would just wait until they switch, and
I'll table
3
this.
weeks later, 4 weeks later, if they've
Table
done a
it.
good job.
I'll
then
defer it.
Say, hey, you're out
He's
of here.
deferring it.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's a motion to defer. Is there a second?
Second.
What made?
And we're going to defer it till March to something.
No, you can't do it in March. You gotta do it in April. The guy's saying in March, I'll have the plan.
That's
First meeting in
Well,
April.
February's gonna have
That's
a
what
plan,
we'll
March
do.
is
Okay, okay.
implemented.
First
What
meeting
we'll
in
do.
April.
I'm with you.
And you can call him, Bob, tomorrow and ask him, where's that plan? You better get it here by next meeting. So
Kay, are we keeping track of all these calls?
Kay is.
Kay is, yes.
I would like to see those in a report during this time, please. Thank you.
So there's been a motion to defer in a second. All in favor then of deferring, do so with show of hand. All opposed? No. Next is appointments to the Planning Commission. We have 2 applications, and we have 1 seat.
Okay.
We can make, we call them recommendations, appointments, or